Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome to the ultimate Cleveland sports show, along with Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell. I'm Adam the Bull. It is a hot Tuesday.
Yeah,
brutal out there.
Way to put the shorts on, boy. Jason,
right.
You missed the memo.
Apparently, I need to wear shorts.
Let's go. It's a shorts. It's too hot to wear pants.
Listen, we breaking the rules. We breaking the rules around here.
I'm going over the Guardians from here, so I got to actually work today.
Did Zach give you a hard time yesterday?
Yes.
All right, good.
About a lot of things. You got to be more specific.
Oh, I said to Zach, because on the we did our Guardian show yesterday. I said, first, let me tell you about softball and the 82 errors Jason made.
It was not 82.
All right, 6. I mean,
you're
whatever.
right, it was 83.
I have figured out.
Yeah.
I told you guys.
Yeah.
I'm top heavy. So every time I bend over.
Yeah. Listen, I know about that. So
that ball ate him up.
Oh,
it was such a good play too. Like it was gonna be a routine, and it's just like you just
Which
fumbled,
one?
and boom.
it was not good. Tyvis had to drop pop-up. I, of course, just fell at first base. Yeah. I was 2 feet away from the base. Tyvis had to help me up.
Boy, I tell you what, boy, you definitely still got. If you was younger, I could tell you was really good at baseball.
Thank you.
I mean, the ground ball was boom, and then it's like my mind was like go, but my body was like no way.
That is so true.
That is 100% correct. You had the same thing.
I had the same. So when we started, I was at third. I could do third. I'm all right at third, and Jay was at short.
Yeah.
And then you guys kept hitting the outfield, and you're like, all right, Jay, you better go to the outfield. No one was hitting it to short. I'm like, I'll just take this whole.
Yeah.
That's when trouble is.
That's when it went.
When I had to do like short, like second, I'm all right. Third, I'm all right. And I told, because Jay said, where do you want to play? I said, just don't make me run. Don't put me
right.
Like third, I'm fine. I would have been fine just at third. I'd have been fine. But when you add short and the range and having to move and everything.
Meanwhile, Jay's old ass is out there diving
I'm
and
telling
flipping.
you,
he was phenomenal.
It's crazy.
He was phenomenal.
We talked about it yesterday. Anyway, lots to get to today. We got Anthony, Steve, and Mikey McNuggets on the other side of the glass. So let's say hi to Mikey right now.
Yeah, we talked softball yesterday, guys.
Yeah.
Today at 12:50, Jay Crawford's going to come in for the last 10 minutes of today's show, and we are going to debut the video of Jay versus Tyvis from Progressive Field from last Friday. We've been holding it until Jay was back from vacation on a day when Tyvis was in studio with us. So that's going to come up at the end of today's show. We also have Zac Jackson joining us in studio to talk a little bit of the Browns roster cut-down day, projections, and some of the moves we already know that have happened. Plus, we have Dave Richard joining the show to give us a little fantasy football advice. We'll talk some guards. We'll talk some Browns. We got a big show on tap for you guys on a Tuesday.
Before we jump, I just saw this last night this morning. I meant to mention to you guys. Did you see this thing about Greg Swindell and his daughter? You know Greg Swindell?
I did. The former pitcher for the Indians.
Former Indians pitcher.
They
found
her.
her. Yeah, his daughter. So Greg Swindell, former pitcher in the 80s when things were really dark around here baseball-wise. He was a terrific left-hander out of Texas. I think he spent like 15, 16 years in the majors. A good chunk of his career in Cleveland. People my age and Bull's age and older certainly know who Greg Swindell is.
He's a good player.
Yeah, a very good left-handed pitcher. His daughter went missing from Texas. Yeah. And they were tracking her through Idaho, and she was with her ex-boyfriend who had a warrant out, and it sounded like a terrible story.
Did she go willingly, do you know?
I don't know that part's out yet.
Oh, okay.
But, and I mean, of course, when you hear something like this, you think the worst. That she's a mother of 3. She would never leave her kids, and now she's missing. Like, what's going? So you think, are they going to find her alive?
Right,
well, apparently they did find her alive last night or this morning. So I just want to make mention of that because it's just a crazy story involving a former Indians legend, I guess you would say, or certainly a great pitcher.
Yeah, he was a very good player.
Yeah, certainly great. It's a happy ending to what looked like it was going to be a tragic story.
Yeah, I saw this. I hadn't heard about it until I saw this morning that she was found.
Yeah.
But we'll wait for more details on it. But good luck to the family there. What could have, obviously, was a very serious thing and ends with not tragedy, which is great. I guess I should move my wallet and keys. Not appropriate to have them on top of the table. All right, Mikey, what's our first topic of the day? Get us started here.
Yeah, we're going to dive in, guys, but first, a quick word from our friends over at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, where we have something a little different for you now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook. We'll get to all the roster cuts that the Browns have already made this morning, and we'll continue to update you throughout the morning as we get more and more. But we're going to say that kind of towards the end of the show so we can do it in one big swoop with more information.
Mike, there was something else I wanted to mention that I forgot. Do you want me to wait on it? Or is it important to jump into the topic?
We already started, so just do it now.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Do it now.
I apologize, but I think it's important to mention because of my relationship with him. Obviously, if you haven't heard, I'm sure you've heard already, but yesterday on 92.3 The Fan at around 5 o'clock, Dustin Fox, my longtime partner, announced that he was leaving the Fan. Ironically, his last day, which is this Thursday, is the 13th anniversary of the radio station.
Oh, I didn't
and the
realize
13th
that.
anniversary of our first show together. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So obviously I've known, he and I are friends, and we talk a lot behind the scenes, so I knew this was coming. But I know it was probably a shocker for a lot of fans out there. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to it, I don't really promote the radio station much these days, but if you didn't get a chance to listen to Dustin's farewell yesterday, and he's doing 3 more shows, but go back and listen. I know you listened, Jason, because we texted about it a little bit. He really opened himself up like he never has before, discussed all he's been through for the last couple of years. Those close to him knew a lot, if not all. Some people knew more than others about what he's been through and what he's gone through, and he's in a really good place right now. And don't reach out to me asking me what he's doing or whatever. He'll tell you what he's doing eventually when he figures himself out. But I'm happy for him. And I spoke to him last night, and it was a big relief to be able to do it. And
I texted him last night and just said, I'm incredibly proud of you.
Yeah,
I was getting emotional and choked up.
Yeah.
I'm in the Guardians press box, and I see it break on Twitter that he had announced it, so I went back and listened.
Right.
And the way he's talking about his kids, I'm like, I get it, dude. Like, I'm right there with you. I know I totally sympathize with what he was saying.
Yeah.
And for him to open up and be as vulnerable as he was with some of the stuff that he's been going through, I just texted him and said, I'm incredibly proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it yesterday, too, when I was driving home from my radio station. And I didn't know a lot of that stuff, and it was just, I was like, it take a real man to be able to do that, like to be in a vulnerable situation and put yourself in that position. And my hat's off to him for being able to do that. I'm glad that you finding peace with yourself, and I'm glad that you went through your dark days and you found some light ones. So shout out to you, D Fox.
Yeah. All right, Mikey, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
No worries. Let's start with some news, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
We'll get to the roster cuts a little later in the show because
4 o'clock's the deadline.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have all the information.
I get the itch. Don't say that. Oh, it's Tuesday at 4 p.m.
Very sensitive for time, no
It
doubt.
just doesn't feel like
Oh,
with it now. And then
please
we
don't
get
let my
by
phone ring.
12:30, so we're going to do it later in the show.
Okay.
We're not ignoring, I promise. But yesterday we got some big news from Kevin Stefanski. A bunch of guys were activated off the PUP list, including Greg Newsome, Dalvin Tomlinson, Jack Conklin, Jed Wills, and DeAnthony Bell. 4 of those 5 are expected to start practicing today. Jed Wills is the one who is not expected to be back at practice yet, but he was activated off the PUP list, meaning they will be part of the Browns' 53-man roster, which gets announced at 4 o'clock today. Before then, the waiver claims and other changes can happen, but the initial 53-man roster. The question I wanted to ask you guys is, just because these guys have been activated off the PUP list, should we expect them to be fully healthy and ready to rock in week 1, or is activating them off the PUP list before cutdown day just a procedural move? Bull, what say you?
No, I think if they're practicing today, then I expect them to play. The game's in 12 days. And obviously, if the injury had any chance of keeping them out for multiple games, they would have just left them on the PUP list because it's only 4 games.
Yep.
So, is it possible that some of those guys might miss the first game or even 2? I guess it's possible. Any more than that, then they were stupid to take them off the PUP list. So I'm assuming at most those guys will miss 2 games. Jedrick Wills, I'm going to say I don't think he's going to play, or at least I think he's least likely because he's the only one of the 5 not practicing. But I anticipate that the other 4, Conklin, Newsome, Tomlinson, and and Bell, are all going to play because they're all going to practice. I think the most interesting thing about that is that I'm expecting, if Jack Conklin does play, that he's going to start at left tackle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that don't really.
I know he hasn't played it in a long time, but
when he's been doing his rehab, he's been working both sides,
yes,
right? So
yes.
that would essentially tell you. Now, when you do rehab, you're supposed to work both sides anyways, but if he's taking kick slides, I think he's very serious about those.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that he has going for himself, that he has had experience. Now, I know it's been since, what was he, at Michigan State? I think that's what he played.
We're talking a decade.
Yeah, but maybe
still.
It's still there. You got to, listen,
Yeah.
y'all old at softball, but y'all still got it. So I'm just saying, same thing could be for Jack Conklin.
Yeah.
I think
If he plays left tackle like we played softball,
well,
call 911.
it's not like they're going to put him on an island, Jason.
Yeah.
David Njoku and them will be right there chipping. But I think he can handle it. I think he's a professional, and I think that having Joel Bitonio next to you also helps in a big way. And
Sure.
I think that wouldn't that be the person that y'all most confident in? Like
100%.
Outside of Hudson and the Fetty, like y'all be
I would much
I'd
rather
rather
have
see
him
Jack
play.
out there.
Yeah.
No offense to a Fetty though, you still my boy.
The evolution of the Jack Conklin contract
That's funny,
is
right?
kind of funny, right? Because we thought he was going to retire. It's
Yeah.
over. And they give him the extension. We're like, what? And then he gets hurt. Like, oh, what a terrible contract. I can't believe that. Now it's like, well, thank God they got Jack Conklin. Thank God Jack Conklin's there to play left tackle.
That's true.
So it's just funny how the life of the NFL and the way one day it looks like a terrible contract, and the next day you're like, whoo, I think we got that guy.
Until about a week ago, it was still a bad contract. Really, until today.
In a week, it might be again.
Yeah, it might be a bad contract again. But today, it's like, well, okay. He's the best option at left tackle. So are you expecting those guys, except for maybe Jed, to play this week?
Yeah, certainly. And I think we said that before the last preseason game. Like, hey, if all these guys come off and they practice, then okay, it's a non-story.
Yeah.
The Jed thing is a little bit concerning. I said I want him practicing by this week, or else what's going on? There's no way arthroscopic surgery should take 8 months. There's no way. Something happened. But and the whole we got plenty of time to talk Wills.
Yeah.
But the Wills thing is just fascinating to me because.
Although they must be, sorry to cut you off, Jason, but they must be expecting him, even if he's not going to play week 1, to play soon, or they would have left him on the pup list.
I mean, I disagree with you. You say if he doesn't play the first 2, then they should have left him on. Every game is gold in the NFL. If you miss 3 and you can come back for 4, take him off pup and get him back for 4.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, that tells me he's going to be back before week 5.
Right.
And that's what we know for sure.
Yeah.
Is he's going to be back before week 5.
Right.
And then we'll see when he could be on the practice field next week. And it still is a week enough time to get ready. Theoretically, yes, it should be.
I feel like if they off the pup list and they making the 53, they got 2 weeks. They're practicing this week. They're practicing next week. If they're not ready that next week for first game, they will 1,000% be ready for the next one because
For week 2.
For week 2 because it's people keep forgetting the fact that you got to get yourself back in football shape.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part. Like you'll be fine to go out there and still do things for a couple plays, but you'll be sucking wind pretty quick.
Yep.
So to get them back in football shape, letting them play football, let them see how they're going to develop a plan. Because if the injury is still bothering them a little bit, like say they 90%, they still need to know how to play with that in game.
Sure.
So you give them this week and next week in practice to figure that out so they can develop a game plan. I do think the G-New thing is the most interesting one. I know a lot of people is on the trade G-New thing and all of that stuff. I watch that hide fade come every single, inside fade from the receiver. That's called a hide fade, or you can call it a China fade. Whatever defense coordinator call it, that's what we call it, China fade. Outside guy runs the hitch, inside guy runs the fade. They ran that every game, first, maybe not the first, but maybe the second series, and they completed every single one. It didn't matter if it was Hickman. It didn't matter if it was Cam. Everybody got it. So, G-New, I just want you to know, I know you watch tape. Dallas is putting CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and they running the China fade. I'm just going to tell you that right now because it was money. So make sure when they run that fade, you ready to defend it. Please get it off tape. Get it off tape. Because if it stay on tape, you're going to see it again the next week, and the next week until somebody make a play on it. 3 straight weeks in a row, and they got it. I couldn't believe it.
And Tyvis, I just want to confirm for anyone out there who's listening to you talk about that. That was the same play the Packers scored the touchdown on.
Yes.
On their first drive, correct?
Yes.
And then we saw it again, Minnesota.
Yep.
Seattle did it. Jackson Smith and Jigba,
Sure did.
I believe, was the one who caught that pass. Those are the plays you're referring to on that China fade or slot fade, whatever you want to call it, so people can go back and put a visual to what Tyvis is talking about. Go look at the touchdown pass Jordan Love threw on the, I believe it was third down on his only drive.
Yep.
And it was Jackson Smith and Jigba who caught the pass on that exact same route concept against the Browns defense in Geno Smith's lone drive on Saturday.
One of the interesting things here when it comes to the offensive line, let's say that Conklin plays this week, but Jed does not. And let's say that both Conklin at left tackle and DeJuan Jones at right tackle play very well. Mm-hmm. And then week 2, Jed's ready to play. Is he starting? Because I wouldn't start him if those guys both play well in week 1. What say you guys?
Jack's under contract past this season.
Yes.
But
I don't think it's any is it still guaranteed next year?
I don't know about the guaranteed money, but
right.
he is
but
under
they,
contract.
But they could keep him. If he was healthy this year and had a bounce back season.
With
yes.
that being said, you 100% play Jed Wills.
Really?
You got to know.
You got to make a decision.
You got to know. Yeah, you got to know by the end of the year what you're gonna do. Because if you don't play him
at the potential expense of.
I mean, if it start going bad, get him out.
They played Baker with one arm.
Yeah.
For the exact same reason.
I
because
hear you.
This is the year of answers. Like, we need answers.
I know that, but if let's say Jack goes out there and plays great at left tackle, why would you mess with it?
Jed's gonna come back and play the next week.
I think that.
Now, if Jed stinks it up, go get him.
It's only 1 week. It's only 1 week.
But he has a track record of when he's healthy being a good player. I know it's at right tackle.
I'm with Tyvis though.
I gotta know.
They gotta and I said earlier, the Jed thing is fascinating, and this is why. Because the Browns historically under this regime, when they believe in guys, they lock him up right away. And they did it with Nick Chubb, they did it with Myles Garrett. The minute they could extend him, they extended him.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy hadn't even played it down for them yet, and they already extended him. Mm-hmm. When they have a philosophy, when you know, you go and get the contract done, you want to be in early rather than late.
Yeah. Well, you don't know after 4 years on Jed?
But that's what I'm saying. With Jed, the fact that and I hadn't really put all those pieces together until the last couple of weeks when I really started thinking it through. It's like they had plenty of time and options to extend him, and they haven't. And that is kind of interesting to me just because the fact that with all their other guys, when they know, they go. And they get those deals done. And the fact they haven't done it with him leads me to believe maybe this is his
and
last
it's not
year.
like you're paying them top-tier money.
Okay, but if maybe they've already decided they're not going to sign.
But that's what I'm saying is I know the reason they kept running Baker out there was because they had to make a decision on whether or not they were going to commit to him long term. But I don't want to relitigate the whole thing.
You got to know.
I don't want to relitigate the whole thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
But I'm just saying.
That never made any sense.
Well, they were out of time, and they had to know what they were going to do with him.
How are you going to know if he's hurt?
But
anyway, go ahead.
If you bench him, you're really not going to know. Yeah. So with Jed, it's sort of the same thing of you got to know. You got to know right now what you have. And
he was trending up his last couple starts before he got hurt.
Part of me feels like if you're into year 5 and you don't know, then you have your answer.
Right.
But part of me also is he comes out and has a great year. It's such a hard position to fill.
Franchise tagging.
So it's just.
Now you can't. The franchise tag for a left tackle is 30-something mil.
Oh, never mind.
I wonder.
Never mind.
Here's another possibility when it comes to Jed Wills. It might not be necessarily the talent that they're not sure about. It may be the attitude, the heart. And maybe that's not fair to say that, but it seems like there's something going on with the way this. There was no talk about Jed Wills missing the beginning of the season, and he's missed all of camp. This feels like it's totally out of left field. There's at times on the field where it looks like he's not working hard, and maybe he is, and I'm just missing something.
Like he really does.
So maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe he doesn't love football. Not everybody loves football.
I mean, Zach, and I think I told the story before. Zach will be in a little bit later, but the one game where it really just stood out to me was the game against Buffalo in Detroit, the snow game when we went to Detroit. And he said, and Zach was like, just watch Jed. Just watch when they come out of the tunnel. Yeah. And Jed comes sauntering over, and everyone's on the field, and they're going through stretches and pregame, and Jed just comes and sits down on the bench like this. And it's fair or not, the body language that he exudes at times is awful.
Well, it is.
It's awful.
It's fair. Maybe I get what you're saying, but if everybody else is working out to get ready and he's just sitting on the bench,
I mean, it's one
Isn't
example.
that fair criticism?
It's just one example. But if you just watch him. It takes him 20 minutes to put wristbands on, and it's just
everything's slow.
It's aggravating sometimes.
Yeah.
And again, I've been one of his biggest defenders.
He don't have a sense of urgency, is what you said.
Yeah.
Thomas, let me ask you this. I'm curious. When you played in the NFL,
Way back when.
were there players that didn't love football?
Yes.
Right? That just
Yes.
only
That's all sports.
It was 100%. I'm good at it.
You're good at it.
Yes.
You're huge.
And so I'm going to do it,
You
but
can
I
make
don't.
a lot of money.
I don't
But there are
know.
always
I don't
players like that.
necessarily want to be the best at it, but I'm good at it.
Yeah.
It's paying my bills. It's providing me a lifestyle. Yes.
Were there some guys that didn't even care if they won? Like, it didn't matter. They just wanted to get paid. Nothing else mattered.
I feel like you have to have some type of competitive nature.
Yeah.
I would say that some of the losses, people took losses differently. I'll
Right.
say that. It didn't hit.
Yeah.
Like, some people was like, don't talk to me until game time next because I'm that
Yeah.
upset.
Right.
And there's some people that's like,
No, whatever.
Yeah, what we
Yeah.
doing next?
Yeah.
What we going out tonight?
Right. And we, as fans, we're passionate. We live and die with the games. Every Browns fan, not every Browns fan, but most Browns fans live and die with the game. And you want to think that the players feel the same way. And some do, right? But some, it's just a job.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I want to ask you about something, but I would close the loop on this. What was that movie? It was like it's an awful movie, but it's the Jimmy Fallon Red Sox fan movie.
Yeah. With
Fever
Drew
Pitch.
Barrymore.
Fever Pitch.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I think this was the movie. You remember the scene where like the fans are devastated at the loss, and they go to dinner, and the players are at dinner like yucking it up, and they're like,
yeah.
"This is worse on us than it." And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of times, guys are certainly, depending on the level of the loss, if it's a championship, whatever, guys
Yeah.
are devastated. Yes. If it's just a random loss or whatever, guys don't care. Come back the next day and do it again.
I mean, in the NFL, guys probably care more because one game
Fewer
means
games.
more.
Yes.
But
and I've been in the locker room. I've
Yeah.
been in Browns locker rooms after losses.
Yeah.
And guys are pissed.
yeah, right.
Like very angry.
But even if it's a big game, there's going to be some guys who just don't care.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
But
Mike.
well, hang on.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I did want to. One thing that you said, and you're 100% right. Like you can be in shape and you can be in game shape. It's two completely different things.
Yes, it is.
And I remember go back and watch the Hard Knocks with the Browns and Todd Haley. They had signed a player, and Todd's like, "Was he in shape? Like, is he is he ready to go?" But when you talk about linemen like that, there's a difference, I would imagine, between safeties and tackles.
Yes.
So
that tackles probably to be in way more shape than the safety.
that's what I was going to
Yes,
ask because I don't know.
That dog fight down there, that takes so much wind. It's ridiculous.
So even though they're not running
safety,
30
like
yards,
I could jog to the play. I might not even have no action. In them trenches, you getting hit. You got a hole.
Every
You
play.
fighting. It's a dog. Yeah. The shape of a lineman is much better than the
how
safety.
long do you need from the time you're in shape to the time you're ready to play a game?
Man.
From the time you're cleared and back in practice.
So for a safety, for me, it would take me to be in game shape 2 weeks.
Really?
About 2 weeks.
Wow.
So Jed Wills needs to start practicing yesterday
Yeah.
or Sunday to be ready for week 1.
It'd
You're
take
saying,
me
Ty.
about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I've seen people do it in one, but about 2 weeks.
With Jed, we better give him 2.
yeah.
Maybe 3. All right, Mike.
Yeah, if you guys are in the chat, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate all the support we get from everyone who watches every day. It's become a UCSS community. We can't say thank you enough for your continued support. It costs $0, 0 cents to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and it does a lot for us on the back end of YouTube. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for supporting UCSS as we continue to ramp up our coverage as Brown season gets here. Bull, yesterday we mentioned the 5 players who came off the PUP list.
Yep.
One player who is still on the PUP list is Nick Chubb, and also Naheem Hines, who is another running back in that running back staple for the Browns, which means the 3 healthy running backs as of 11:24 this morning are Jerome Ford, Pierre
Deontay
Strong,
Foreman.
and Deonta Foreman, and 2 of those, Foreman and Strong, are dealing with rib injuries. So my question, do the Browns have enough at running back through the first couple weeks of the season until Nick Chubb's able to return to the field, or should they look at the free agent market, check the waiver claims after today, potentially look into making a trade? Do they need running back help until Nick Chubb is ready to return to the field.
I mean, I guess it depends on the status of Foreman and Strong. If those
correct.
guys are ready to play, then yeah, they're fine. I mean, I think you're good. If not, there's always some interesting running backs that can be picked up. For example, I was reading yesterday that the Broncos are moving on from Samaje Perine, who was okay last year, had a really good year as the number 2 back 2 years ago with the Bengals. Like, he'd be a guy that if Deontay Foreman weren't ready, I'd go get him. You know, and he's a guy you could bring in. He's a veteran, and they won't have a hard time.
Catches the ball out the back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he could do that. But if Deontay Foreman especially is ready, and I know he had that what looked like a really scary injury, but that's a while now, and I think he's fine, right? It's rib.
He's played in the game.
Yeah,
since,
so
you assume he's healthy from
I
that.
think he's okay. What I'm curious about when it comes to running back guys, and I'm curious what you think. I wonder, like, Deontay Foreman is Nick Chubb very light. He's the same style of player. Obviously not anywhere close to
Physical
as good.
runner.
Right, physical runner. He's not a pass catcher, really. He's a between the tackles guy. But he's more of like a first, second down back, right? Whereas Jerome Ford can do anything, not great, but he's a guy who catches passes. He's more of a, like, I wonder if they'll use Deontay Foreman as a first, like, kind of the running game back, and then Jerome Ford as the passing game back. Obviously not that simplistic. Or is it Jerome Ford, you got these 2 series, Deontay Foreman, you got the 3rd series, and you kind of rotate that
I think
way.
that's how they usually do it.
With Pierre Strong as maybe a change
They usually
of pace.
run it where you got these first couple of series,
Right.
then you get the next 1 or 2 series, because you don't want to do it where first and second down run plays you in, because the defense, me as safety,
right? I hear what you're saying.
it's a run, like so you don't want to do that. Fair. So you got to make sure if whoever's in, they both got to be able to do both, because you don't want to give a tail
That's
away.
true.
So last year, even with Nick Chubb and Kareem, or even with Jerome and them, Jerome would get the first couple, then Kareem would get a series, then Jerome would take some more, then Kareem. So I think that's how they do it, just to keep the hits off the body.
Who's first?
Who's going out there first? Jerome Ford.
Yeah, I agree.
I do too.
I think Ford's the 1A and Foreman's Foreman's more like a 2. I would think the carries would kind of be 2-1, or the touches would be 2-1 in Ford's favor. I would think.
I think you wait and see how the game plays out.
Yeah.
Probably going into the game, that's probably what you're expecting.
I could see them using. You're right. It would kind of be Ford 2 series and then Hunt 1, but they'd also use Hunt in, like, 4th and inches and goal line situations. They'll use Foreman.
Foreman will definitely be in for that.
Yeah, he'll be,
because he talked about that. Remember what game was it? Was it the first game where he scored on the 1?
Yeah.
Okay, so in his post-game interview, he was upset because he said it took me two times. I should have got it in on the first one.
Yeah.
And that tells me that he knows that he's going to be there.
Yeah. He's playing the Kareem Hunt role.
Yes.
Once Chubb got hurt.
They got locks. They both were 27. I didn't know he was a returner. Did he return last week for the Seahawks game?
I did not know that.
I swear he was the kick returner last week.
I don't remember that.
I swear I heard Chris Rose and Nathan say Foreman was returning that kick. I was like, what?
Really? I don't remember. I don't know. You could be right. But, Jason, you comfortable with that backfield for the first 4 or 5 weeks, or would you look on the free agent market?
No, they knew. I think they've had a pretty good idea for a while that Chubb was probably going to start on the pups.
And maybe Hines as well.
And they built the training camp roster knowing that. Mm-hmm. So if it's serious with Foreman or Strong, and I don't think it is, then maybe you have to look outside. But I think they're going to roll with what they've got at this point. I agree with you. I think Jerome Ford gets the first carry.
Two of them running backs on there. Breida the Cheetah and Jet. Oh, Jerick McKinnon.
Foreman did return a kick, by the way.
Okay, I knew I wasn't tripping.
He got 1 return. Darden had 4. Prochet had 1. Darden and Prochet were both let go this morning.
Where did he have
Prochet got let go?
They both got let go.
I thought he would stay if Hines was on the PUP list, because they don't have a returner.
Maybe they got somebody in mind that they're going to pick up. I don't know.
I'm
not interested in any of those running backs. Are you guys?
No.
Yeah, no. No.
If
I had to choose, I'd choose Matt Breida or Jet McKinnon.
I was just going to say McKinnon. I don't think Breida's got anything
former
left.
teammates. I'm always going to root for my guys.
McKinnon's a really good pass catcher.
He is.
He's interesting. I actually wouldn't hate that move just because, he brings – and once again, he's probably not here once Chubb gets back, but he's won Super Bowls with the Chiefs. And as a third down weapon, Andy Reid was really creative in getting him the ball in space, and he was really effective in that. So I know Jerome Ford was second in the NFL in touchdown receptions for a running back last year, only behind CMC. But McKinnon seems like he could be a gadget weapon in a way, just to give you a little more versatility.
I could see them. I mean, if with Hines and Nick Chubb starting on the PUP list, they really only have 3 backs. So a lot of teams will keep 4 backs.
What is Hines' injury?
I think he's still recovering from his ACL last year, right?
Yes. He's still not healthy from the injury that kept him out
Who is the returner?
Season. Yeah, I don't know who the return guy is going to be.
We're going to ask Zach in an hour.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. He'll be in the studio with
David
us.
Bell, who made the 53-man roster.
He did officially make it?
He has officially made it, yes. Or at least reportedly has officially made it.
Since we're teasing it anyway, I kind of feel like we should get to it now. What's going on?
We got Dave
with the
Richard in 1 minute, so.
Oh, we got Dave in a minute?
Yeah,
we'll get to some fantasy stuff.
Let's wrap this up, then we'll bring in Dave, and we'll get to the other stuff on the other side, because we're going to talk some Guardians as well. But finish this up so I could get a mic check from Dave.
Yeah, so anyway, I think, listen, we all knew Nick. I think we were all pretty sure that Nick Chubb was not going to start the season on the roster. I'm guessing he'll be back by week 5 or 6, especially because yesterday Mike noted that a lot of his incentives are based on playing 12 games.
Yeah.
So that would mean coming back week 6. They play Washington week 5. Week 6, 7, and 8, they play Philly, Cincy, and Baltimore. I think that's when they're hoping to have him back for that trio of games.
It's sad that's your first game back is against those tough opponents.
Yeah, I think you better get him back for week 5.
Yeah, I think you don't want to throw the first game out there.
All right, we're going to talk some fantasy football. Some drafts in the books.
Yep.
The UCSS draft coming a week from today.
Yep, we got to finalize a place to have that draft. And if you guys want more Browns content, we'll get more later in the show here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Also, twice a week, G. Bush does the Ultimate Browns Show. It'll be changing from Monday and Friday to Tuesday and Friday at 5 o'clock during the regular season. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel so you get the notifications when G goes live with those Ultimate Browns shows. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome back our fantasy expert. It is Dave Richard of CBS, who is here to give us some fantasy tips and advice to help you win your fantasy football league this year. Dave, how you doing? Long time no see.
Long time no see, guys, and you are catching up with me at just the right time because the big fantasy drafts, the ones that matter to everybody all over the world, they're going to start happening now. The preseason's over. We're 9 days away from the first game of the regular season, so a lot of fantasy drafts kicking into high gear. Hope you're ready.
Dave, I love your background this year. You got the old school fantasy magazines. You got the football cards. You're ready to go.
84 tops, baby. You see Elway and Marino over my shoulder?
How much are those worth? You going to sell them?
No, man. It's an uncut sheet of 84 tops football cards.
Everything has a price, Dave. I'm just,
Listen, if I can get some of that bull money, I'd be happy to. Let's say I'm taking offers, Bull. What you got?
Listen, I don't have that kind of money. I don't know what kind of money you think I'm making, but not to pay for that. I mean, that's a high value target right there. But it is cool though. I like that, and that was a great quarterback class, of course. Yeah,
absolutely. I got to see if there's any Browns on here though. I haven't looked for any.
Yeah, no.
Nothing. Where are they?
That's a question. That's a question Browns fans have been asking for 40 years. Where are they? Where are they? But where they are now is pretty good. We think this is going to be.
You've heard of Clay Matthews, right? Hold on, I got to move the camera for this.
You got Clay Matthews?
Clay Matthews. Oh, like you can see this.
Yeah, we can't see. All right.
He's right up there. 84 tops. Clay Matthews.
We all think he should be a Hall of Famer. He hasn't gotten in yet, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but. He should be in. Hey, Dave, let's start with the Browns from a fantasy perspective. I know more and more leagues. I think every league I'm in now does Superflex, which is essentially a 2-quarterback league. Deshaun Watson, who at one point was definitely a top 5 quarterback in fantasy in Houston, is no longer there. At this point, he's one of the most unpredictable quarterbacks, I think, in fantasy. Is he even a quarterback 2 at this point? Would you even trust him as your quarterback 2 right now?
Absolutely. I think there's no question that he can be in that role. I think as long as he's healthy, he's going to start. And so, like, that's the bottom of the barrel qualification to be a QB2 in a Superflex league is, are you going to start? Are you going to play? And not only should he start and play, but he should play fairly well. Yeah. And when I think about the Browns offense, I know that Nick Chubb out for at least the first 4 games, could be longer than that. We know that injury, which is brutal last year. I think they need Deshaun Watson. I think that they need him to be the catalyst of the offense, for him to throw more. And certainly the receiving core improved from last year in Cleveland. So I'd venture to say I've got him as my 22nd ranked quarterback. And in a Superflex league, that's not a slight at all. I think you could actually get him in that type of format. We're talking like maybe round 6, 7, somewhere in there. 1 QB leagues, I don't know if you're drafting Deshaun Watson. There might be too many other quarterbacks that you'd rather have on your team to start the season. But if they stink, and I'm talking about guys like Goff, Matthew Stafford, Will Levis is a sleeper quarterback. If those guys stink, you're going to pivot to Deshaun Watson as one of the guys off the waiver wire that can end up being a starter for your team, because we know that he's got the upside for it. We know that at points last year, he looked very comfortable running this offense. I think he's going to need to run more of it for Cleveland to have a chance to go back to the playoffs this year.
Dave, depending on your league rules, Nick Chubb has been a staple of maybe the late first round if it's not a PPR, certainly a second or at the very least a third round pick for many years now. Obviously, he's coming off a serious injury. He's going to miss at least 4 games. Where are you comfortable drafting Nick Chubb, and where are you comfortable drafting Jerome Ford? Let's call it a PPR league with a traditional lineup.
We're talking round 10.
Okay.
And this goes hand in hand with what I just said. I think the Browns are probably going to throw more. That means they're going to run less. We know that we don't have Nick Chubb for at least the first 4 games of the year. That could turn into 5, 6 games. And then we don't know which version of Nick Chubb we're going to get when he comes back. I love thinking optimistically, and I think about Nick Chubb and the guy that has run roughshod over NFL defenses for years, and I want that guy to come back. There's just no guarantee of it that as soon as he comes back, he's going to immediately be that guy. I'm hoping the Browns take their time with him and ramp him up so that by the time that we get to around Thanksgiving, he's the old Nick Chubb. And so if you're a patient fantasy manager and you've got maybe 3 running backs already on your roster by the time that Chubb is available, that's when you take Chubb. But otherwise, I would probably stay away from Chubb, because you don't want to be put in the spot where I need a roster spot and I need to cut somebody, or I need to trade somebody, and then you're trading Nick Chubb away for pennies on the dollar of what he could be. As far as pairing him up with Jerome Ford, that is an option. That's something that I did in one of my personal leagues, but I did that when Chubb was my 4th running back taken and Ford was my 5th running back taken.
Oh, wow.
And so in that type of a situation, boom, I've got both Browns running backs. I can play it out, but I also don't have to start either one of them to begin the season because they were so down on my list and I got them at really good values. If you can fall into that type of a situation, which I don't think you're going to be able to do in Cleveland area drafts, then it makes sense. But short of that, I might really wait and take a very cautious approach with the Browns RBs.
Dave, let me ask you, if I got the first pick in the draft, am I definitely taking CMC or should I take Tyreek Hill?
The first thing that you need to look
at
is
this ain't super flex either. This is not super.
No, right? Because you know that in a super flex, that's going to be.
People want to know. People want to know.
Do you have the first pick in the draft?
I don't. League, it's not going to be a quarterback, and it's not going to be a tight end. If it's full PPR, you could talk me into either Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb being at that pick. But think about what Christian McCaffrey can be, and then think about literally handing him off to somebody else in your fantasy league. So you're giving the next person up in the draft the chance to have that guy on your fantasy roster. And I can make the case against McCaffrey, but I can make the case against anybody. The bottom line is that there are very few players in fantasy who are not quarterbacks that have the same type of week-to-week upside that Christian McCaffrey has. And even if Trent Williams isn't there, I still like Christian McCaffrey to be utilized to his fullest. At 28 years of age, I think he can still come through. That is who I would take at number 1 overall. And just for the record, I would take Lamb in full PPR ahead of Tyreek Hill just based on his target volume. But those would be my top 3 picks. McCaffrey 1, Lamb 2, Tyreek Hill 3.
Man, I got to remember that.
Sticking with the receivers, Amari Cooper, where is he going in drafts? And marvelous Marvin Harrison. I just love Marv, but I don't know about rookies, and I don't trust Kyler Murray.
I think Maserati Marv is going to be rolling right away. I can't remember the last time there was a receiver this polished coming into the NFL. It might be Jamar Chase, and it might be A.J. Green before him. But Marvin Harrison, I mean, we all saw what he did at Ohio State, man. He's amazing. He can do everything. And I think the Cardinals are going to use him as such. And the track record of number one receivers with Kyler Murray, man, they get a lot of target volume. And I think that's what's going to happen for Harrison. And so fantasy managers have been very aggressive with him. He's got a round 2 ADP, but I'm even more aggressive. I'm willing to take him as a top 15 overall pick in full PPR. I think he would be worth taking 8th wide receiver off the board. I know that Puka Nacua was a hot commodity last year. I'm taking Harrison ahead of Nacua this year, just based on how the Rams are structured now. Cooper Kupp's back and all that. But Harrison to me is my number 8 wide receiver overall, someone who's worth taking as a top 15 type pick, like I'm saying. As for Cooper, he's just outside of my top 24. We checked on his ADP this morning before coming on. It is a round 5 pick. And I think that if you're getting him to be a low-end number 2 receiver, high-end number 3 receiver, he's probably worth it in that range. But I would not overvalue him because there is some target competition with Jerry Jeudy there. And then David Njoku, the way that he finished last season, how can the Browns move away from that? I know that with Watson, he hasn't been quite as productive for fantasy in the regular season, but I know in training camp this year, those two made a connection. And so I worry a little bit about just how much volume Amari Cooper is going to get from week to week. Could get 7 targets a game, but I think he's really on that fence of being a number 2, number 3 wide receiver in fantasy.
Dave, there's been a lot of smoke surrounding the quarterback 1 in fantasy. You know, usually for many years it's been Josh Allen, but with all of the trades and stuff going on, a lot of people are getting high on Anthony Richardson, and I want to know, where are you at with Anthony Richardson?
I see Richardson as a top 6 pick, but it's based totally on projection. Okay, we've seen like the equivalent of like 13 quarters, 14 quarters of football from Anthony Richardson, and a lot of it's really good in the regular season. But if you watch him in the preseason, inconsistent. And that's something that's going to be it's actually going to be a thing that you're going to have to accept with Anthony Richardson. So what do we know about him? Inconsistent when throwing the ball, but man, can he run. And I think the Colts are going to lean into that in a major way. That's something we didn't see a lot of in the preseason. We didn't see him run a ton. And why should we have? Save that for the regular season. But I think that Richardson does have upside to be the best quarterback in fantasy if he plays 17 games, if he's running for at least 40 yards and a touchdown every single week, which honestly, I think that's absolutely within his range. And then what does he have to do as a passer? Maybe 22 passing touchdowns over the course of a season, maybe get north of 3,000 passing yards. We're not asking a lot, but we are asking for him to do a ton more with his legs to help balance out what he misses out on as a thrower. And the other thing that I'll say that is in his favor, the offensive line is good in Indianapolis, and the Colts added a lot of good targets to that receiving core. Adonai Mitchell, chief among them. They'll get Josh Downs back. Of course, Michael Pittman's there. I think it'll help him. I think that he'll have a chance to really come through and be worth taking as the 6th quarterback off the board in fantasy. As an example, I would take him ahead of Joe Burrow, which sounds silly when you think about it, because Burrow is just a better quarterback, and he's got probably 2 better wide receivers than anybody Richardson has, but he doesn't run like Anthony Richardson. That's a cheat code in fantasy.
Dave, I stunned the fantasy community in a brand new startup dynasty league, Superflex. It was a Superflex. When I did not take Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts first overall, I took Patrick Mahomes, even though he's not a big runner, just because I decided in the end he's going to be better for longer, and he's not injury prone like some of these other guys. Did I blow it?
No, I get where you're coming from on that. Here's the question, and I'm sure this is what helped make that decision for you. How often do you, or how many more years rather, do you see Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts running for as many yards and touchdowns as they have been? 2 more years, 3 more years? Are they really going to do this for 5+ more seasons?
Exactly.
Probably not. Whereas Mahomes, you know what he is, and you know that he'll run a little bit too. He'll get some rushing touchdowns on top of all the passing yardage that he'll get.
Right.
And for a long time this offseason, Mahomes was my number 1 QB in redraft. You think about Josh Allen losing Diggs and Gabe Davis. You think about Jalen Hurts getting Saquon Barkley as a backfield mate and losing Jason Kelce, and you go, well, what happened to Patrick Mahomes? Oh, they signed Marquise Brown and they drafted Xavier Worthy. And there's a chance that they could use Worthy like Tyreek Hill, and that would be amazing. Yeah. So he got a better receiving core without losing anything significant. It wouldn't surprise me if this was one of Patrick Mahomes' best seasons passing. Agreed. Compared to everybody else in the league. He might throw for more yards than anybody, might throw for more touchdowns than everybody, maybe even gets 50 by the time this season's over. So he's got the highest upside as a thrower. You just have to hope that that's enough to get him past all these other rushing quarterbacks. For me, I came around on Jalen Hurts. I've bought into what I've heard from training camp. Apparently, he's just been crushing it in training camp. And there's going to be some tweaks made to that Philadelphia offense that could make him really an outstanding passer himself. And so I've got Hurts ahead of Mahomes, but both of them ahead of Josh Allen.
Mike's got one to wrap it up, but real quick, speaking of the Chiefs, has Travis Kelce finally lost the top spot to Sam Laporta at tight end this year?
I would take Laporta first, but ADP says otherwise. We've seen Kelce go 10 spots higher than Laporta. It's been nuts how it's worked out. I would much rather have Laporta in round 3 than Kelce in round 2.
Agreed.
That's where Kelsey's been going. That seems like too much.
Mike, go ahead.
Dave, our draft is 1 week from today. Who is the guy in rounds 6 through 10 that I need to be targeting to make sure I take home the trophy this year? Who's your favorite sleeper in that mid-round range?
So I'm looking at my rankings right now, and I'm pulling up the names that are in round 6. And you only want one name? Is that it, Mikey?
Yeah, one. I don't want. Listen, if you give me more than one, then Tyvus is going to steal all of them. So
yeah.
give us one name so I can make sure I target him a little earlier than everyone else.
Okay. I'm going to give you the name of Terry McLaurin in Washington. I think he's finally got a quarterback that plays with poise and accuracy and can get him the ball at all 3 levels of the field. And he's going to be the number 1 target for sure. We've seen him get north of 7 targets per game. I think each of the last 4 years that's happened. Now he might be able to touch 8 targets per game. I've seen the Commanders in practice this preseason rather. He's looked great. Daniels looks good. I know Daniels will run a lot, but I think Daniels, when he throws, will be efficient, and McLaurin can have a career year.
Dave, great stuff, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Appreciate it.
Good luck in your draft next week to everybody except Bull.
And everybody watch. And what do you got going on, Dave? I know you guys are doing great stuff now.
You know, we are not only on YouTube every day. Look for Fantasy Football Today on YouTube. We're right there next to you guys. When everybody's done watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, they can hang on over to Fantasy Football Today and see us there. We're also going to be on CBS Sports Network 3 times a week.
Nice.
You've got the channel in your cable package, or you can stream it through Paramount Plus. It's really, really easy. Check your local listings to get the latest fantasy news on Fantasy Football Today.
And who is on there with you? Jamie Eisenberg?
Jamie Eisenberg and Heath Cummings are the usual analysts, but we've also started to add Katie Mox, who's a Sportsline gambling expert. She's got a great, unique view of the game. We might have some former players join us from time to time.
Okay.
It's going to be a good crew this year.
All right, you got to do some more funny videos. I like some of those videos you've done, man.
Wait till you see what's coming out, Bull.
Yeah. All right, good.
You
Dave,
have no idea what's coming.
Nice, good. We'll talk to you soon, Dave.
Awesome.
Take it easy,
Dave.
guys.
If you need him, check him out on Twitter. We'll retweet his handle. Dave is the best, and if you ever need fantasy advice, he's always there to answer. We got some big news out of Browns that we're going to get to. We're going to put the Guardians off for a few minutes because we got to address this. But once again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you guys a ton for helping us out and making UCSS the best Brown show on the interweb. But Mary Kay Cabot, the pristine Browns beat reporter, just tweeted this a second ago. With Browns quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson being informed today that he has made the 53, source tells me the Browns will field calls for Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley and could trade one of them. We've talked about the possibility of trading Huntley for the last week and a half. We had not mentioned at all the possibility of the Browns listening to offers for Jameis Winston. What do you think the Browns would have to get offered for Jameis Winston for them to pull the trigger?
Fourth. I think this is stupid. Why would you trade Jameis Winston? Didn't the Browns learn a lesson from last year?
Because if a team is going to offer you a third,
Tyvus, are you trying to win the Super Bowl or are you trying to win the 2025 draft pick Super Bowl?
If a team is going to offer me a third,
I don't care. I'm not trading my veteran backup.
We got Tyler Huntley.
He stinks.
If they trade Jameis, DTR is the backup.
I would actually kidding me right now.
I like DTR.
I've been saying that for months too.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Listen, you not gonna take it. What did we trade
last
Dobbs
year?
for?
Everybody lost their mind when the Browns traded Josh Dobbs.
What they trade him for?
Stinks.
What they trade him for?
What, Dobbs?
Yeah.
A 7th-round pick?
Oh, a third or a fourth?
First of all, nobody's trading a 3rd-round pick for Jameis Winston.
I don't know.
Who's trading a 3rd-round pick for Jameis Winston?
Minnesota?
No, they're not. They got Sam Darnold. They like him.
Why?
I don't know why. They're not trying to win. They have Sam Darnold
Yeah,
in
that's
their
it.
mind.
They're not trying to win. Like that's
They're not trading a 3rd-round pick when they stink. Nobody's trading a 3rd-round pick, and probably nobody's trading a 4th-round pick.
I said if they was.
Tyvus, when you're trying to win, why would you trade away your veteran backup? We saw what kind of disaster. Deshaun Watson, the odds of him making it through a 17-game season are not high.
No, they're not.
You can't trade a veteran backup, a guy who's played a ton in the league, for Tyler Huntley and DTR.
You got
This is the stupidest thing I ever heard.
You got a coach that's a good quarterback coach, though. He puts him in situations.
Okay,
he
listen.
just won with 5.
I mean, in
last
fairness,
year.
Tyler Huntley was a backup to a team that's won multiple division titles.
All right, he stinks. I don't care. I don't care what he's doing. All right,
Was he or was he not
What
the
did they
backup
do?
quarterback to a team that's won
Was he
multiple
not a
division
Pro
titles?
Bowler?
And what have they done in the playoffs?
Well, not because of him.
What have they done?
Not because of him.
Pro Bowler.
Yeah, right. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not going that.
Stop it.
I'm not doing that.
Stop it.
I'm telling you.
This is crazy.
They drafted I don't know if they're going to trade James or not. They drafted DTR to be the long-term backup in Cleveland.
Fine. Not yet.
He
not
showed
now.
flashes last year that he was going to be okay long-term. I don't think they're going to trade Jameis.
Trading
I don't
Jameis
think they
is
are.
so stupid.
But I
He's
really
already
like
here.
I really like DTR. I do.
That's fine.
As a backup.
Jameis has thrown 30 touchdowns. He's thrown 30 picks. He's thrown for 5,000 yards. I mean, there's not many guys that have done that. You have a proven veteran quarterback who can hold the team afloat for a little while.
The demand for Jameis
There's
got
to
to
be
much higher than
what
Huntley.
demand is there for Jameis? Nobody's giving you anything good for him. If you trade him for a 5th or 6th round pick, that's beyond stupid.
I'm trying to think of the teams that.
I agree with that. If all you can get is a 5th or 6th for him, you might as well keep him.
I agree with that too.
And by the way, all right, and I have, outside of maybe Jason, I have defended Kevin Stefanski probably more than anybody in this town. But let's roll it back a little with this quarterback whisperer nonsense. First of all, to be completely fair, Baker Mayfield had his best season this past year, not with Kevin Stefanski. And number 2, Deshaun Watson's been absolute shit here. Now, I don't really blame Stefanski, but Watson's been shit.
Yeah.
So don't tell me he's perfect. He's not infallible. He's a good coach, and I like him, and I don't want him going anywhere. But let's not make it seem like it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Come on, that's silly.
I mean, he breathed life back into Joe Flacco's broken
He did. He did. It's funny on my podcast.
You can't say that he ain't nothing, and you can't say he the greatest, I guess.
No, yeah, which is the case
I
for
think
most
he's
people.
very good.
Yeah,
By
he's
the
a
way,
good
I was
coach.
interviewing this guy. So for my podcast this morning, we had the guy, our handicapper, basically. This guy, Jimmy Yod, who's really good. And he's like, first thing he says in the interview, he's like, I can't believe the Browns let Joe Flacco go. He, by the way, and watch my podcast later tonight, Jimmy Yod is the handicapper. He has the Browns going 10-7 this year. And he has them making the playoffs. So, anyway. But Mike, to me, this is ludicrous. The idea of trading Jameis Winston is
If a team
insane.
called, and just in a hypothetical world, if a team called and offered a 2nd, would you take a 2nd-round pick for Jameis?
Yes, he would. Don't sit there and lie to yourself. Yes.
It's an unfair question because that would never happen.
I asked if it did. Would you say yes?
Yes. I really.
A 3rd-round pick.
I think because you're trying to win the Super Bowl.
Of course, yes.
I don't care about draft picks right now.
I guess is what you said.
It's a ridiculous hypothetical because nobody would ever do
A
that.
3rd-round pick. The Lions just cut their backup quarterback. Nate Sudfeld got
You think
cut.
the Lions are going to trade a 3rd-round pick for a
I'm just
backup
giving you an
quarterback?
example. They just cut their backup
They got
quarterback.
Hendon
They're in the
Hooker.
market.
They got
Give me
Hendon
the
Hooker.
last
They're
trying to
fine.
win. They're trying to
They're
win.
going to trade a third-round pick
For a backup quarterback? I don't think that's a terrible move.
The Browns are going to have to cut Tyler Huntley. They can just sign Tyler Huntley.
Why would
Would
they
you
don't
rather
want
have
him?
Would you rather have
Yeah.
Jameis Winston or Tyler Huntley?
Yeah.
I'd
As
rather
your
have
backup
Jameis
quarterback?
Winston.
So what are you talking
All
about?
You
Yeah,
know
Bull
the
just-
Lions
Bull
not
just
trading a
talked himself
third-round
into a
pick for
pretzel.
Jameis Winston.
Would you take a
ridiculous.
third-round pick if Detroit called and said
I
Jameis
guess.
for a third?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Yes, you would.
Because the Lions, that's like the 90th pick in the draft. The Lions are going to be a top 4 or 5 team.
So you're drawing a line at a third then? That's- I'm
I'd
just
trade
trying
him
to
for a
establish the
second,
baseline.
even though I hate the idea of trading him. But I would do it for a second because it's just so ridiculous. But I wouldn't do it for a third. I'd consider it, but I probably wouldn't. And nothing lower than that.
You know who?
Nothing.
You know who would trade for him?
Who?
Dallas Cowboys.
Why?
Because their backup situation is atrocious.
Nobody's trading a high draft pick for a backup quarterback at this time of year. It doesn't make any sense. They all could have signed Jameis this offseason.
They could have.
They could have. They thought he wasn't
And they could have
good.
signed Tyler Huntley, too.
You know why a lot of quarterbacks want to come to Cleveland for the preseason?
Why?
Because Kevin does a great job of making you look good.
All right. That's true. Malik Willis got traded yesterday. Did you see that?
Yeah, for a 7th.
7th-round pick. I'm
Which
annoyed. I'm
that-
annoyed. I don't understand why the Browns would consider trading Jameis. I think it's really stupid.
I seen something about that Malik Willis stuff. They said that Will Levis
Yeah.
let transfer from Penn State because he lost the quarterback competition to Sean Clifford.
Right.
Malik Willis got traded to the Packers because he couldn't back up Will Levis.
Yeah.
And now he's going to the Packers, where now him and Sean Clifford will battle for who's the second best
There
quarterback.
you go.
Small world.
It is.
Who's going to win that?
Sean Clifford, probably. Now, I hope Malik Willis does.
Go ahead, Mike.
Speaking of small things, Bull, the Guardians lead in the AL Central has dissipated to one game. We're going to talk about the doubleheader in a sec. But a quick reminder, if you want extra shows, we have an Ultimate Brown show. You do an Ultimate Guardian show with Zach. We got an Ultimate Cavs show, all on the UCSS umbrella. So head to our YouTube page, and you can find all those extra ancillary shows there.
Word on the street is the Ultimate Guardian show is getting a short shrift on that on our YouTube page. People are always complaining to me. I can always find everything else. I can't find the Ultimate Guardians. What is happening? I said to them, guys, it's being sabotaged. The Guardians are being sabotaged on our website. I don't know why
It's on the
happening.
Ultimate Guardians playlist every time.
That's fishy.
It's in the exact same spot every week in the podcast
Very
because I get an
fishy.
email about when the podcast goes up.
Okay.
I get an email. So
All
it's
right.
up. The Guardians doubleheader yesterday. They were 1-17 in doubleheaders dating back to last season. Bull.
That
I
is
have
pathetic.
no
It's
real
the
way to
worst-
explain it. Yeah.
It's the worst record in a stretch of 9 doubleheaders since the 1970 White Sox that lost 106 games. So it's hard to wrap. I said yesterday I did not feel good about that doubleheader. I said they'd split, but I wasn't feeling very confident. They put themselves in a position yesterday where they were essentially starting Joey Cantillo. I know he didn't start, but
You came in like the 8th.
No, the first game?
Yes.
yeah, he didn't come in until the very end.
Yes.
let me
I thought
correct
they
that.
was doing the opener.
Let me
I
correct
thought
that.
so too. And then Eli Morgan came out.
They actually did
Oh,
do
yeah,
a real
he
opener.
did.
Yeah. Let me correct that. They were planning just to start.
I don't
And I don't know what
they
they did. And then in the second game, you had Logan Allen, who stinks.
Looks like Logan Allen.
Yeah.
And the first inning, he got out of it without giving up a run.
Yeah.
It's like,
You know
Nope,
what the
he's still
sad
Logan
thing?
Allen.
You know what the sad thing is? Both games, I sat there and said, "Oh yeah, they jumped out to us to a lead. We good. We just gotta ride it." And
Nope.
the second one was worse because it was like Homer. He came up again.
Yep.
Homer. I'm like, get him off
Salvador
the
Perez
mound.
had, 7 hits in the doubleheader and 2 homers?
27 RBIs.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God. Hey, listen, let's face it right now. The Royals just look like a better team.
Yeah.
Their lineup's better.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt
It's
is going to
unbelievable.
finish second in the MVP.
Yep. He's incredible.
Is he having the best season a shortstop's ever had?
Let's not get crazy.
I'm serious. No,
No, he's hitting
serious.
345.
Let's not get crazy.
By the
A-Rod.
advanced metrics, it is legitimately.
What
up
about
there with the
A-Rod? You
best.
got Ernie Banks, a Hall of Famer.
A-Rod hit what? 270, 280 with 50 homers. right? As
Yeah,
a shortstop.
Ernie Banks had over 500 home runs playing shortstop.
Witt's hitting 345 with what? 30 homers, 27 homers?
He got 27 homers, 94 RPIs, a 1.014 OPS.
I hear you.
I'd rather have Witt defensively than A-Rod.
Steals a ton of bases.
A-Rod was really good when he was younger. You're thinking more Yankee days.
I need them new. I seen your boy hit a homer too.
He's not having the best season ever for a shortstop. He gets nuts, but Paul DeYoung.
Could have had him
Paul
for nothing.
DeYoung hit
Coulda
a
had him
homer.
for nothing.
I just looked and thought about Jason. I was like, oh,
Trust me, I was in the press box like this with Zach. Hey, you see that? You see that?
And anyway, Bobby Witt is. I mean, you have 4 guys in Major League Baseball having magnificent seasons. Aaron Judge is over 50 home runs. Shohei, quickest player ever to 40-40. Marcell Ozuna, quietly for the Braves.
He got 38 homers, don't he?
And he could win the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
And then Bobby Witt just having. And then Ellie De La Cruz has like crazy amount of stolen bases. And he's a wild player too. But anyway, Witt and Perez, I mean, 2 of them are unstoppable. Witt hitting the home run in the first game against Hunter Gaddis. Gaddis has given up runs two appearances in a row. Right now, they got a better lineup. The Royals have the better rotation. And even though the Guardians have the better pen, the Royals have closed the gap since the deadline. They made additions to their pen.
The Royals fixed their bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's not as good as the Guardians, but it's solid now. It was bad early in the season.
They made 2 key additions. They moved Chris Bubich from the starter to reliever.
Yeah,
he's a
been
great
good.
lefty. And the new closer that they have, I can't pronounce his last name. He's been excellent. Urseg or whatever.
Lucas Urseg.
Since they put him in that role. He's
then
really
John
solidified
Schreiber, who they got
end.
from the Red Sox last year, has been good.
He pitched for them yesterday.
Yeah.
Listen, Gavin, we got to go. Gavin, come on, man. Gavin, let's go. Tonight, it's got to be tonight.
Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee go the next 2 days. They're supposed to be the 2 leaders in this rotation. I know they're young. I know a lot's being asked of them. They got to pitch great.
Yeah.
The Guardians got to win these 2 games.
Yes, they do.
I don't want to split. They got to win them both. And Gavin Williams has sucked his last 2 starts.
I know.
He's got to pitch well today.
Yeah, let's go. It's time.
There's still time. That's the thing about baseball.
Yeah.
You got a long ways to go. It doesn't
30 games.
It doesn't feel like it in the moment.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time. 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, we have a completely different conversation over how it
Can't
feels
get swept.
now.
They're in second place if they get swept.
I know.
They play at 1 o'clock today?
No.
Yeah, it's tonight.
Game's tonight. That's wrong.
Okay.
Steve, bad job out of you.
They play tonight, and then tomorrow I think they play at 1 o'clock. Or 2. I think it's 1 o'clock. Yeah, tomorrow. But no, they play today at night. And who's pitching for the Royals? Is it?
It's Lorenzen tonight. It's a 6:40 first pitch.
Right. And then
tomorrow it's Bybee versus Waka.
And Waka's pitched well. He's been pretty good for them. Their rotation's pretty solid.
And it looks like, only because I have it up right now,
Yeah.
it looks like the Guardians are going to miss Paul Skeens, which is sad for the fans, but
Good for the Guardians.
You know what? Are they going to miss Jones also? He's coming off the IL today to pitch.
According to the ESPN schedule pitching matchups, the 3 pitchers for Pittsburgh, Falter, Ortiz, and Keller.
Wow, they're getting lucky. They're missing. Guardians are missing the Pirates' 2 best pitchers. Now, the Pirates, the one thing they have is a good rotation. Bailey Falter, I haven't looked at him lately, but he was pitching pretty well earlier in the year. Ortiz has been decent.
Not going to lie, we went up against Skeens.
That would have been fun to watch.
I probably, no lie, I would have bet a no-hitter.
Well, you shouldn't bet that because he's not going to pitch the whole game. But, yeah, I mean, the guy's pretty nasty. He's another great story. There's a lot of great stories in Major League Baseball.
We've been hitting better over the last few games, but if
Guardians,
this was a week or 2 ago, 1,000%.
My favorite radio show is my guy Mike Farron and Jim Duquette. They have a show called Power Alley on MLB Radio. It starts at 10, and I listen to it often when I'm driving in. And their lead story was the Guardians blowing this lead and being down to 1 game. And
I mean, Stephen Vogt, it's time. It's time to manage.
Yeah.
He's really going to be tested now the rest of the way. And it never comes easy in baseball, but certainly things were falling their way early.
Yeah.
Every button he pushed was the right button.
Right.
And now you're looking at some of the decisions, you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I don't understand yesterday. I don't understand why they went about doing it the way that they did yesterday. I didn't understand trying to squeeze the 3rd inning out of Eli Morgan. You got through 2. You got 1 out of Sandlin. You got 2 out of Morgan.
Yeah.
Be happy with that. They tried to squeeze the 3rd out of Morgan, and with runners at 1st and 2nd, I was like, okay, go get him.
Yeah.
Nope, left him in, gives up a 3-run homer. the picture of Carl Willis getting ejected, it's not quite that one. Yeah, it is that one with the demon eyes. He's got when you make Carl Willis's eyes go like that, he's one of the most laid-back, chilled dudes. And we talked to him after the game last night. He was upset with a call. He felt like the home plate umpire missed earlier in the game. Yeah. And then they got screwed on the exact same
That was
pitch
a bad play.
on the foul tip. And Carl lost his mind. First time he's been ejected since 2017. But they're in a bad spot. Like and they're trying to stay even keel and say all the right things right now, but I'm sure they're feeling it.
I don't understand what they're doing in terms of not giving any of their prospects.
That's what I want to see. I want to see this Valera guy that you keep talking about. I want to see him.
I mean, we've heard about George Valera for 5 or 6 years.
Valera and Manzardo have nothing to prove in the minors. Yeah. And I don't care that Manzardo may be in the slump. The Tigers yesterday, who, by the way, got to 500. So now you have 4 teams in the AL Central that are 500 or better. The Tigers yesterday, I'm drawing a blank on this guy's name, called up a kid from AAA, a pitcher, one of their prospects, and he had like an 8 ERA at AAA. And he went out there and he pitched a pretty good game last night. Jeez. Like, just because you're struggling in the minors doesn't mean you're going to suck when you get to the majors. I know it's counterintuitive to think that way, but, like, get Valera and Manzardo up here. I don't understand the obsession with Schneemann and Freeman.
Well, part of it is position. Like, you can't.
Jason, those guys are all playing positions they don't play anyway.
Where are you going to play Valera? Where are you going to play him?
We'll
play him in right field.
But who's going to play center?
Whoa.
Noel's not going to play center. They're clearly not going to move Quan to center. They should, but they're not going to.
Whoa.
At least not at this point.
Right field.
Right field.
Right field is locked down.
I'm putting Noel as the DH.
Okay, so
never mind.
Valera. Fine. Okay, great. Where do you put Manzardo?
Oh, well,
yeah, you got a problem.
Valera plays center. I don't even know that.
No, he's not a center fielder. That's what I'm saying. One of them, you can make a case for one of them. Sure.
You
can't bring them both
Noel
up right
can't go nowhere
unless
he
gives
me 8 more home runs.
No, you can't sit Noel.
I need 8 more home runs. He can sit down after that.
Part of the problem.
Stop. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Shortstop and center field are their 2 biggest holes right now.
Right.
Those can't be filled by those guys in the minors. That's part of the problem.
Well, Chase DeLauder could play center field.
Can he? I honestly don't know.
I think he's playing center field in the minors right now, like on a day-to-day basis. I'll double check on that, but I'm pretty sure that's where he's playing.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I've seen enough of Freeman and Schneemann and the law firms and the
Schneemann just went yard.
I'm done.
I don't care.
I've seen enough.
That's sad.
Those guys stink.
But
they're not doing anything.
And there's no guarantee that who you're bringing up is going to be any better than these guys.
Of course not. But you might as well try something else. Yeah.
But I just think it's a positional misfit right now because of second and.
Well, that's their fault. They should have done more at the trade deadline.
I don't just. Paul DeYoung would have solved a lot of problems.
What did they give up for Paul DeYoung?
Nothing.
But what? He's not good enough defensively? Who gives a shit?
No, he's not bad defensively. I was talking to Zach about it, and Zach's point was, listen, you can't draft and develop 8 and 9 middle infielders and then go out at the trade deadline and trade for middle infielders.
None of them have done anything in the majors. Arias stinks. Freeman stinks. They bring these guys up, none of them can play.
How Jason's taking this victory lap right now.
It's not a victory lap. It's frustration.
This Paul DeYoung.
I mean, I'm not going to live and die on the Paul DeYoung hill. But he's hit 22 home runs this year. Like, he can hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
And he can play shortstop.
DeLauder in the minor leagues over the last 2 seasons has played 33 games in center field, 11 games in left, and 39 in right.
That's not a lot. That's not a lot. I mean, you can give it a shot, I guess.
He's only played. It's
33 in 2 years. 33 games in 2 years.
But he's only played about 80 games.
Yeah, it's about half his games he's played have been in center.
Yeah. So who cares? Let's go. Call them up. Let's go. I'd call all 3 up. You're expanding the rosters anyway.
Wait, who's your 3? DeLauder, Manzardo, and Valera?
You can't call all 3.
I'd call. I know you're not playing all of them every day. You're not going to play. You're not going to play Valera again't lefties. Right. You're only going to play him against righties.
Are you sending down Freeman, Schneemann, and
the rest of the attorneys?
And get rid of Rocchio. I don't care. I play Tyler. Play John Kenzie, Noel at shortstop. I don't give a shit. Let's get some hits.
I'm pretty sure you would give a shit if you
that would be funny.
Noel at shortstop.
That would be hilarious if Noel was playing.
You remember what I looked like playing shortstop the other day?
It just feels
It's so frustrating.
It
when
feels
he
stale,
can't
Bull.
hit.
It just feels stale, and they keep running out the same guys and put them in different positions and trying to mess with the lineup in terms of who's batting second, who's batting sixth, seventh, eighth. They just need some sort of infusion of life, and to me, that's why I'm as frustrated as I am with the lack that they haven't called up either Manzardo or Valera or Devada or
at
whoever.
least one of them.
Just because it just feels they're running out the same guys, and what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result. I think we have a pretty definitive idea of who a lot of these guys are, and it's not good enough to compete and win at the highest levels.
And for all of that, the biggest problem with this team right now is the fact that Naylor and Quan have been absolute garbage for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Quan may not hit 300 this year.
I mean, that's crazy.
He may not hit 300 this year.
Stop it.
He's down to 302.
Is he down to 3? He was just 314 last week.
I was watching last night. There it is, 302.
Oh, my goodness.
I was in the stadium last night watching it drop with every at bat.
That boy John Kinsey walked him down at home.
He is an 0 for 3 today away from batting 299.
Yeah. He must be hitting under 200 in the last 6 weeks, right?
What happened?
Or at least low 200s.
I'll go with splits. Give me 1 second.
Oh,
low
my
200s.
goodness.
I mean,
he is a 0 for 3 away from me.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I have never seen that.
I defended this man.
I wonder.
You ready for his splits, Bull?
Yeah,
In the last 30 days,
yeah.
he has 103 at-bats.
Okay.
He's hitting 194.
Oh, that's it.
He has an on-base percentage from the leadoff spot
Yeah.
in the last 30 days of 284.
That's horrible.
His OPS over that stretch, 595.
Horrible.
Last 15 days, 50 at-bats, so half of that. He's hitting 140.
Ooh.
In the last week, he's hitting 087.
Oh,
The month of August,
087?
month of August, he's hitting 195.
Yeah.
In July, he hit 250.
God.
Trending down in all the wrong ways.
So he's batting.
What other splits do you want?
He's batting about 220. It
Josh
sounds like since the
Naylor.
start of July.
You want Josh Naylor?
Oh, Naylor's been horrendous.
Let me just pull this up real quick. Josh
Yeah.
Naylor splits over the last few weeks. Last 30 days,
Yeah,
Josh Naylor's hitting 226.
better than I
What's
thought.
his RBI? I don't care about average for him.
19 RBIs in the last month.
That's not terrible.
Last 2 weeks, so 15 days, he has 50 at-bats. He's hitting 146. 2 homers, 6 RBIs. In the last week, so last 7 days, they played 7 games. He has 21 at-bats. He's hitting 048. 1 homer, 2 RBIs.
I mean, everyone has a bad week.
his
I
one
wonder
hit
if-
in the last week was a 2-run homer.
I wonder if his conditioning or lack thereof leads to him collapsing in the second half of the year. Because he had a bad second. I know he got hurt, but he got a bad second half last year.
I think he's got it. I think there's some sort of injury with him.
Yeah.
Is he going to get paid in, what is it, next year? Not by
He's
us.
got 1 year left.
He's not going to get nobody's paying him a huge
You
money.
don't think?
No. Nope.
Not $100 million.
He is he is
What about 80?
he's-
80 million?
for how many years?
4, 5.
Nobody's paying.
4 or 5.
Nobody's giving him that. Nobody.
20 million a year.
No way.
18 to 20 million a year.
He's
I think he's probably 15 to 18 million a year.
I don't think he's getting a long-term contract, period.
He still has
he's a
another year.
DH.
He still has another year to go.
Jason, he's a DH.
He's got another year of it on his current. Like he's got all of next year.
How old is Josh Naylor? He's younger than I think.
Josh Naylor's 27 years old.
When's he turn 28?
Next June.
All right, so he'll be going into his age 29 season when he's a free agent. He's not in great shape. He's really a DH.
He could play first.
He's at best average.
In 3 or 4 years, he'll be a DH.
Exactly.
But right now, he can
nobody
play
is giving him. He's not the type of player that gets a long-term contract.
I'd
I
have
don't
to look
think.
and see what other first basemen are making because I don't know off the top.
And he's the type of guy
Get him money to Bull.
that he will go off the cliff in a
Quickly.
hurry.
That's true.
In a hurry.
Get him
I
money to
agree with
Bull.
that.
Bull,
But if he's
Bull
got-
can play first base as good as Josh Naylor.
How
Better.
many RBIs does he have this year?
92. He's got 28
listen,
homers.
What do you have last year?
Last season, Josh Naylor had 97 RBIs.
I mean,
He's played 3 more games this year than he did all of last year.
You see that? You see what you did? That's the type of confidence right there.
Yeah,
He said,
that's right.
Better than Josh
That's right.
Naylor.
Mike, how many RBIs did Naylor have at the end of May? Please, if you could tell me that. Is that possible to know?
Yeah, I can. but at the end of May.
Yeah.
So in March, he had 1 RBI. April, he had 23, so 24.
Yeah.
In May, he had 18, so 42 at the end of
All
May.
right. So still got 50.
He's been steady as a run. Like the average has been
until
up and
the last
down.
couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, right there. He's had how many RBIs in the last 30 days? Like,
He has 19 in the last 30.
all right, it's not
Last
terrible.
15 days, how many ribbies?
6.
All right.
Last
That's
7
not
days,
terrible.
2.
No, that is terrible.
20
It's
RBIs
just
in
he's-
30 days is a pace for 120 RBIs.
Okay, but the last 15 days he has 6.
All right, everybody
which
goes
is a
through
pace
slumps.
for
Yeah, it's not
about
great.
70.
Okay, it's
I'm
2 weeks
just
slump.
saying he's been in a slump for a while.
But he's still driving in runs. That's all I want from him. That's all I want from him. Driving runs.
But I'm talking about a long-term contract.
Yeah.
I
don't
don't bank on anybody giving him a long-term deal.
I believe
So
that
he
they-
go resign with the Guardians.
If I were them, I'd offer him a 3-year, $45 million extension. Take
It's
it or leave it.
15. I just said it's going to get 15 million in free agency. I said 15 to 18.
Okay, well there you go. I'm
You
with you.
yelled at me.
Sorry, that's a bad job out of me. 3 for 45, Josh.
Or do you give it to? Do you just go with Kyle Manzardo?
You could have both.
You could have them both. But
He would be a DH.
But
Naylor's
does
got to
have
be the DH.
Yes, Manzardo
It's
has
enough
to
with
play
this
both.
nonsense that he doesn't want a DH. Ridiculous.
Well, John Kinsey's about to be a
Yeah, well, listen, you're not gonna, and you don't really, although you don't really want to get locked in on a DH because you like to rotate. You know, as Jose gets older, you're gonna want to DH him some. That's what the Royals do with Salvador Perez. He DHs half the games. You know, which is why he's able to play every day. But
I mean, long term,
Yeah.
They either it maybe DeLauder's a center fielder.
Yeah.
If not, you got to move Quan to center. You got to move Quan to
Yeah,
center.
yeah.
This is ridiculous.
they got to get power in the corners.
You have nobody to play center field, first of all, and nobody
Yeah.
who's any good.
No.
And you have no power. I mean, Quan's getting better.
Yeah.
But Quan as a center fielder, I don't care if you lose a step defensively or metrics
Yeah.
or whatever. He's going to be above average.
Yeah,
Just put
absolutely.
him in center fielder and give. I mean, also they can't even fill one corner spot, and we're asking them to fill 2.
No, and we're like, okay, maybe it'll be DeLauder and Valera and Quan. Okay, those guys are good prospects, but there's been a lot of other good prospects that have done nothing until they prove it in the majors.
Right.
I'm not convinced DeLauder's going to be good. I'm not convinced Manzardo's going to be good. I'm not convinced Valera's going to be good.
I mean, love you, Tyvis. I'm still not convinced on Noel. I told Zach, yes. Look at that look.
He's got
What more do you need?
his chase rate's terrible.
Awful. And
Listen, y'all gotta cut this out. If he get 20, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I swear on everything I love. That man hit 20. Jason owes me an apology live on the UCSS show.
I was talking to Zach yesterday during the game, and Zach's like, Tyvis might be right. He might get to 20. I was like, I don't want to hear it out of you.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it out of you.
That's right.
Let me ask you guys this to put a bow
By the way,
on
the
it.
pitcher I was talking about for the Tigers is Ty Madden. Shout out to my guy Matt, who is correct that I'm annoyed that I trade Spencer Torkelson and he finally came back and he's hitting now.
Yeah.
My fantasy
Who
league.
saw
But I'm
that?
going to win the fantasy league championship, Matt, so I don't really care in the end. Go ahead, Mike.
Last question. We'll get to our last little Browns topic before we bring Zach Jackson on.
Okay.
Zach Jackson in. Excuse me.
Try saying that 3 times fast.
Zach Jackson. For the first time this season, Bull, or since they had a legitimate AL Central lead, are you nervous about the Guardians' chances of winning the division?
100%. I said this morning that I still think the Guardians will win the Central, but I'm not close to as confident. I am very worried about the Royals, especially because they're playing great baseball. Bobby Witt is. I wouldn't trade Bobby Witt except for Ohtani, even though Ohtani's older, but he's a pitcher and a
Would
hitter.
you trade Jameis Winston for Bobby Witt?
100%. 100%.
You know how important that is?
I would trade any player on the Guardians. I would trade any 5 players on the. Well, maybe not any 5, but I would trade almost anything for the Guardians to get Bobby Witt, which of course you cannot. But he is fantastic. Salvador Perez is a great veteran player. The Royals' lineup is better. Their rotation is better. And their gap in the bullpen, that the edge the Guardians had, is not as big as it was. The Royals are the better team right now, but I still think the Guardians can hold on. But they have to win these next 2. Have to.
That Kansas City's gonna cool off at some point. I feel like. Do we play the Twins again?
Sure.
Oh,
We
yeah,
do play
one
the
series.
Twins, yes.
I think they go to Kansas City. It's Royals, Pirates, Royals.
Yeah.
They go to Kansas City, so they got a lot of games left. with KC. This is far from over.
This is
one way or the other.
Today and tomorrow's big. They need to make it to 3 before they get to the until they go to Kansas City.
I mean, this is we touched on it earlier, but this is a big moment for Gavin Williams.
It certainly is.
Who the Royals got after us? Y'all know?
Who the what?
The Royals play.
I don't know
this.
in between.
I don't know.
I'll look that up.
Check that out. I know the Twins lost to the Braves yesterday, but they still pick up a half game on the Guardians. So the Royals are a game out. The Twins are 2.5 out.
The Royals play Cleveland, and they go to Houston.
Yeah.
And they go to their home versus Cleveland, home versus Minnesota, at the Yankees, at Pittsburgh, home versus Detroit, home versus San Francisco, at Washington, and at Atlanta to end the season.
Like
so tough schedule down the stretch.
Those next 3, it goes Cleveland, Houston, Cleveland, Minnesota, New York.
Yep.
Wow. That's a tough stretch, man.
Big time
if
stretch.
they get through that stretch anywhere close or in the lead, they're going to win the division because their last 4 series, 3 of those 4 teams are really bad.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to move on, and we've got Zac Jackson in 10 minutes, but I wanted to ask you guys this question. Quick reminder, today's Guardians game is actually on WKYC, so you can tune in on WKYC tonight to check out the Guardians play the Royals. Also, if you want to sign up for the UCSS newsletter, it comes out every Monday, has some exclusive content you don't find on the show, and you can do it by texting the number you see at the bottom of your screen right now. When Zac Jackson joins us in 10 minutes, we'll go through our position-by-position projections for the Browns' final 53-man roster, but I wanted to ask you guys this one specifically before we had Zac on, because in Zac's final prediction for the 53-man roster, he did not have Jamari Thrash on it, but that was prior to the Seattle game. Mm-hmm. He had a very good game against Seattle. Do you think Jamari Thrash at this point has played his way into being a lock for the Browns' 53-man roster, Ty?
Before let Tyvis answer, but before we bring it up, did he have David Bell making it over Thrash? I can't remember now.
No, he had a receiver who's not currently on the roster.
That's right. Okay. So what do you think now? You think that's changed?
I'd be, to be honest with you, I thought he's played really well in the preseason, so much that I kind of consider him to make the roster. Jamari Thrash, let me think. Hold on. You got Amari Cooper, Judy, Elijah Moore,
Cedric Tillman, David Bell.
Bell's on.
Bell.
It's already been announced.
Okay.
So how many do they usually keep? 5 or 6? 6?
Yeah.
I would make them to 6. Why would you cut ties with them?
Well, we'll have Zac in a few minutes. He predicted.
Shame on him.
That it would be somebody that's not on the team right now. Maybe it's a return guy, because I don't know that we're going to have to ask Zac about the return guy too. Yeah. Why don't we just bring Zac on now?
Sure.
Let's bring Zac on now. He's sitting right here. We got questions.
All right, so let me do a read then.
Go ahead, do your read.
We'll bring him in. All right, guys, FanDuel is the official sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You heard us talk a lot about it before, and we're going to remind you guys why FanDuel is the undisputed #1 sportsbook in America. We have a little something different for you guys going on right now. Starting now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, so we got Zac Jackson here from The Athletic. Zac, how are you doing?
So you brought me here to argue, huh? Let's go.
Yeah, no.
Well, because the difference is, everybody thinks about Austin Watkins last year, how he had a great preseason, but they still cut it.
Yeah.
This was a draft pick. And
right.
You know how people are about. You know how he is with
Watkins
draft picks.
showed up 20 minutes before the first practice.
So, to me, I thought the chances of him making it was more than him getting cut because of the fact simply he was a draft pick. But the way that he played well in the preseason, that just kind of made me be like, all right, they're cool with moving off of other guys because they have him.
Zac, you, in your last projection, had him off and had somebody not on the roster.
Then my first projection I had.
Oh, that was the first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, Mike, you screwed me up.
No, I didn't have him
put out an update
in my
on
last
it,
projection.
Oh, your last. Right,
yeah.
Okay.
No, I immediately kind of had some buyer's remorse there. But
okay.
I would say that Tyvis is right, 75% lean to is because he's a draft pick.
Yeah.
But you never saw him until the last week do anything except in those preseason games.
Right.
So now, is that just the maturation of a rookie in an offense and, the disjointedness, non-competitiveness of training camp?
Right.
Or is this guy a gamer and they were always going to keep him and it's time to go? So I just had them making 5 because I thought they know who their top two are.
Right.
They're praying for the next two.
Yeah.
And then we'll see, right? So, but I mean, I think because he's a draft pick and because you probably do keep 6 ultimately, that was maybe one I regret.
Okay.
If I was going to do it again, but it was 2 in the morning, frankly.
I
have a lot of 2 a.m. regrets in my
I'm
life.
so tired. He's like a Saturday Night Live writer. What's happening here?
Yeah.
Let's talk about running back, too, because we were talking about this earlier. Obviously, got a lot of guys banged up. You got 2 guys on the PUP list. Pierre Strong is dealing with something. Deontay Foreman dealing with something. We mentioned Jerick McKinnon before. I know Samaje Perine. Perine, do you think they're going to go get a veteran running back, or are they going to just stick with what they got?
I think they're going to explore it. Now, Strong is going to be back at practice today.
Okay.
But the question is he a running back at all? He's one of your best special teams players.
Right.
He could be your kick returner. He's one of your best gunners. He might be the fastest guy on the team in the straight line. But do you see if you need him to be the number 2 running back in September, are you comfortable with that? So that's where the decision comes in. Foreman will not practice today. It comes down to really next week with him.
Yeah.
It's a rib injury. He's listed at 235. He's not. There's nothing special about him, but he's played. It kind of reminds me of like Carlos Hyde, right?
Oh, yeah.
You need 2, he'll get you 2. You need 4, he'll get you 2.
Right? Yeah, that's it.
So,
Right? Wasn't that Kareem? That was Kareem Hunt last year.
We're not doing this. There will be
That
no
was 3-wheel
Buckeye
Kareem Hunt
slander.
there, Jason.
That's the Leroy Horde mantra.
Yeah, Leroy Horde, too.
So, I think you look there. The return game is the other part of it.
Yeah.
They said Nyheim Hines is our returner, and then we'll see who the other guys are.
Yeah.
And right now, we think it's Pierre Strong, but you need 2. And
So he is a returner.
Yes, but you wanted it Hines to be the real returner.
Right.
Yeah.
And then who's your punt returner? I don't know. So
Right.
what are your
they
other?
cut Prochet and they cut.
And those guys were never going to make the team.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was always bring them back on the practice squad, and then
Yeah.
But Hines is on PUP, right, to start the season?
Hines will be on NFI, same as PUP.
Okay.
Yes, out at least a month.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's a
well,
big-
well,
that's a big
Pierre
deal
is
there.
will be the returner.
Mary Kay put out something on Twitter today saying that the Browns might shop Jameis Winston, which I don't understand. Does that make any sense to you?
No, it doesn't.
You're not buying that?
I don't think there'd be any market for him
Yeah.
unless there's a surprise quarterback injury somewhere around the league that we don't
Right.
know about. The Browns wanted to make this a position of strength, and I think even though they never publicly admitted it, they had to regret the way the Dobbs deal went
Of course,
last year, right?
yeah.
And I think a couple of weeks ago when they were talking about teams, they thought they could maybe get something for DTR. It didn't work out. So I think it's part of the negotiation process. They did talk about DTR with multiple teams. They did talk about Huntley with multiple teams. Go back to the spring, there was no market for Huntley. That's why he ended up here. It was a really good signing for the Browns. They knew they needed a veteran guy. They knew what his skill set was and how it fit kind of what they wanted the offense to be. And now we're at the day they have to decide. So I think that's probably just conjecture, but I would be surprised. I think probably Huntley doesn't make the team, ends up getting traded maybe for that backup tight end, backup running back or receiver that they need to fill out the roster.
What about the left tackle situation?
That's a great question.
Do you
Because they
think-
play in 10 days, and we
Yeah.
don't know who the left tackle is going to be.
Could it be Conklin?
It could be. Now, he played a little bit as a rookie and in his second year, but these were like spot middle of the drive. A guy got hurt. He had to move over or lined him up there in a certain package they were running. But we only saw Jack Conklin one time doing anything, or maybe twice. But the last time we saw him in a walkthrough period where he's over with the trainer, he was taking left tackle drops. So that's notable. So could it be Conklin? Yes. But again, even though he's activated and he's past his physical, I don't think he's going through a 90-minute practice today, right? Like he just hasn't done it. So, he's played in the league for a long, long time. If he's practicing next Wednesday, can he learn it? Can he do it in a pinch? Sure. And maybe Wills is going to play. But again, now we're getting closer and closer. They're down to 7 practices. So everyone Wills isn't there is probably less likely that he's going to play.
So what is your thoughts on Wills past this season?
That's a great question.
Well, thank
Tyvus.
you. I came prepared. Came prepared.
I think they have always wanted it to work. I think the way they've structured his restructures, if you will, has done that. They drafted him as a young player. They moved him to a new position. But I think he has to earn it. He has to be available, and he has to go out there and play at a high level. So if you look at the future rosters and look at this cap, left tackle is a glaring thing, and they want it to be their guy. But in an ideal world where the quarterback has a good year and the receivers therefore have a good year, you can draft a left tackle in the first year and he costs you a lot less than Jed Wills will on the extension.
Does he have dead money after this year?
He does, but it can be that. Like twice, Jason, they've taken what's left on his deal and pushed it forward
Right.
to make it dead money, just using it because they're just outspending everyone.
We haven't, obviously, I talk to Zach all the time, but we haven't really talked about this. I didn't really think about, I mentioned this earlier in the show. The Browns very clearly have a philosophy when they believe in someone, they lock them up early. And it never really occurred to me. Jed's playing on his 5th-year option, and he has nothing after this. Mm-hmm. How much should we read into that and their long-term belief? And, I liken it to the Baker situation where they played him with one arm going into his last year because they had to know. They needed to know if it was worth extending or not. And it sort of feels they're in the same spot with Jed of they're still trying to decide if what they have. When you're going in your 5th year, if you don't know, isn't that your answer?
Well, I don't think you have to read into it. I think it jumps off the page. However,
well, I'm very not bright.
However, he gets hurt at midseason last year, right? And so that time that could have been used to earn that extension, even finalize it, he's not there. Then they want to bring him back for the end of the year. Then they switch to the surgery, and now 9.5 months off the surgery, he's not back on the field yet. So you're not going to sign a guy that you don't know about medically. Yeah. So I think it could work out. But I need to see it before I would say, yes, they're going to do it. And they finally have a first-round pick. So that's where you get a left tackle 8 times out of 10 is in the first round.
Even as low as they're going to be, more than likely drafting?
Yes, you can still get a left tackle there historically.
What's Conklin's dead money? He has no money, right? After no guarantee
his guarantees money. Are this year, but he has a bunch of money. But you can do the June 1st cut. And
because we were talking about that earlier.
I have the exact money right now if you want.
It's 16 it would save next year. Now you're going to pay for it on your cap for multiple years, but you would save 16 next year. So when you look at next year, the first thing you see is Jack Conklin's not going to be on this team. Now, if he's healthy and has a good year, they'll restructure it and work around it. But if he's not, that's the first thing you see. He's the first guy that's not going to be on this team next year.
Let's talk about who's going to end up making the team on the offensive line. We know the top 6 we've talked about. In your last projection on Sunday, the other guys you had them keeping, Zach Zinter, Nick Harris, Affetti, and Hudson. You think you sticking with that? Any changes in a day or two?
Well, we haven't seen Michael Dunn in almost 4 weeks. So that's my question. Okay. I mean, if Michael Dunn's healthy and available, I think he makes the team, and he's probably the first guard ahead of the rookie.
Is that back again? Is this back?
I don't know.
We've had no update on that.
We haven't seen him.
So, how close do you think Cohen is, Zach, in terms of making this? I know Dunn's
Cohen
not
will be on the practice squad. Yeah, Cohen will be on the practice squad. He's just – they drafted a guard, and they have Michael Dunn, so he's just not ready. It just comes down to who is your next legitimate option at left tackle? Is it Hudson? Is it Affetti? Or is it having to move Conklin or Batonio?
Right.
That's what decides next. So I don't think they're going to cut Affetti today because you don't know. But in a week or a month, if the tackles are healthy, then either Affetti or Hudson's not on the team.
So do you think that – because I've seen that they starting the year off with Mike Hall Jr. on the commissioner exempt list.
Yeah.
Do you think a defensive tackle benefits from that, or do you think somebody on the offensive line benefits?
I think a defensive tackle has to benefit from it because you have Tomlinson coming off the injury too, so you probably can't count on him playing. And then the next guy would be Briggs, who body type position-wise is more like Tomlinson anyway. Hall's that pass rusher. Hall, Maurice Hurst, Shelby Harris, they're kind of the same guy. Mm-hmm. And then, Briggs is that other guy. So I think Briggs might make the team anyway.
Yeah.
I know when they drafted him in the 7th round, like multiple teams called and were like, screw you guys, we were about to take him. Like they wanted him, and the Browns doubled back on the position, right? Some of it was just for the offseason. They were a little worried about Tomlinson. They know those guys are older. But they really thought, hey, we're in the 7th round, and like this guy's a good player. Mm-hmm. They got him. He was an older prospect. He wasn't like super big to be drafted early, but especially because I think they knew it wasn't going to work with Ika. They said, why wouldn't we take this stab? And it looks like he's going to be on the team.
And Ika's gone, so you had projected 11, I believe, on the defensive line, including Briggs. So if obviously Hall's not going to be there, who's the next guy? Who is the next guy?
Well, Sam Kamara's been waived, but he would come off the practice squad. They traded Chris Williams. I think Ika will stay on the practice squad. You keep developing him. Guys, this is what a crapshoot the draft is, right?
Yeah.
DeJuan Jones has a super high ceiling, and we know might be a starter and star here for years. Right? They took Ika in front of him. Then they waited, and an offensive tackle went right in front of him who might never play for the Colts.
Right.
So
it's crazy.
You just never know. Right? In the history of the Browns, we can go by and say, oh, they could have had this guy. Yeah. But sometimes it works in your favor, too. And, imagine being in that draft room and saying, we're going to take Siaki Ika.
Right. And he's shown nothing.
Right. I mean, that's just Jim Schwartz coming in and having the power and saying, I watched last year's film, guys, and you got to get me some warm body. And that's what they did.
Yeah, and it is amazing. And the Browns over the years have done such a terrible job drafting. Obviously, overall, they've done much better. with Andrew Berry, but everybody makes some mistakes.
What about Miles Harden? He's been like the story of the preseason.
Well, hold on. We got to stick position groups here.
What?
Well, I think the defensive line's pretty cut, especially if Mike Hall is not going to be eligible for the 53. Then I think you have your 10. I think you have your 5 rushers, your 5 interior guys, and then you just kind of sort it out from there.
Do you think Dalvin Tomlinson is going to be ready to go week 1? Or?
I think they hoped so.
Okay.
We will believe. I mean, that guy's a really good player. And obviously for this defense, right, Miles being out of this world and Denzel being who he is, that's the keys. But I think for this defense to be great, I think Delpit and Tomlinson have to be healthy because I think that's what helps this defense really get to that next level.
All right, so let's go to the secondary. Go ahead.
Miles Harden.
Yeah.
Is he going to make this team?
He's right at the bottom of the bubble. I think so, yes. Slot corner is a big money position these days.
So but they got Cam Mitchell.
They got Cam Mitchell, but they don't know what's happening with Newsome after this year. Cam Mitchell came into camp hurt. And if you can find a guy in the 7th round that you think might be your slot corner in a year or two, I think you hang on to him.
What is Denzel Ward's situation now? Do we know if he's going to play week 1? We don't know.
No, I mean, listen, he's shown no desire to quit. Right?
Yeah, right.
And it was 2 full weeks ago. 3 days after it happened, he was running around on the field playing catch. I'm not trying to be a neurologist here. Obviously, it's scary. It's his 5th known concussion in 7 years. So that's scary. But sometimes when a guy gets him, we don't see him for 3 weeks. And last year when Denzel got it in the preseason finale, we didn't see him at all until the Thursday before the first game. I just take it as a good sign that he's out there running around in the joint practices.
Go ahead, Mike.
Zach, what about Justin Hardy in that cornerback room? I know he was a special teams ace. How does he kind of fit into the mix?
It's an interesting one because he's not really a corner. Like, if he's playing corner, you're down. Now, that's a position where you look and say, we have to have an emergency plan. But they signed him because he's a Pro Bowl special teams player. He had $600,000 in guaranteed money. If he's healthy, I think he's probably on the team. So then, is it Miles Harden? Is it that extra offensive lineman? Where are you skimping on a guy to make room for Justin Hardy, who's only going to play special teams for you?
And a follow-up on that, they may only keep 2 tight ends. Is that a position by not getting that 3rd tight end on the active roster that you can fit a Hardy or an extra offensive lineman? Like, is that one of the ones we're looking at as a?
It is. It is. Now the problem is you can't ever go to a game without a 3rd tight end. So, but you can look on the waiver wire tomorrow, and you can look at other teams' practice squads and do that. But they easily could have 2 tight ends on this 53 and all the way through next Sunday because they only have 2 NFL tight ends on the team right now.
Right.
This is obvious, but for the record, they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks on the 53.
That's always been the plan, barring something else.
Because they got away with 1, right? I guess 2.
Well, they had 2 on the 53 for a lot of time.
Flacco and PJ were both P-squad guys. So where's the trim? If you're going to carry 3 on the 53, where's the spot that you're losing that they had last year?
That depends on 5 or 6 wide receivers for 5 or 6 defensive tackles.
Yeah.
But until you know your starting quarterback is fully healthy and can take all the reps, you have to have 3.
Yeah.
Do they still keep 5 safeties? That's been the spot that I said I could see them going down to 4 because traditionally it's 4 and 6.
Yeah. That's a tricky one, Tyvis, for 2 reasons. One, Ronnie Hickman looked really like a good find last year, and he just not been healthy this whole camp.
Right.
And then the guy he was passing last year, DeAnthony Bell, we didn't see at all in camp. He just passed his physical yesterday. Right. So they passed his physical. He goes back on the active. Now, does he get cut today and then move to the practice squad, or does he play? He's another guy who's a really good special teams player. It might be Bell or Hardy. It might be that 5th safety versus that guy who's a corner who's not really a corner.
Would Bell make it through to practice? I think somebody would pick him up.
That's a great question. Not having seen him in camp, I don't know. He's an older guy. He's not really. He's only a special teams guy.
Right.
Now, there's always a question with this new kickoff rule. Is it really going to affect the bottom of rosters? And we don't know that. And I don't think we'll know that until after tomorrow when guys get waived. Right. And that's why the Ricci thing hurt the Browns in multiple ways. He was your 3rd tight end.
Yeah.
The O-line was so bad in the joint practices he had to play fullback. And he was going to be on all the first special teams. And then you lose him for the year. So then you don't have a 3rd tight end at all.
Right.
You don't have a fullback at all. And now you have a guy who you could count on for at least 3 or 4 kick teams is not there.
I'm going to hurt Tyrus' feelings. The kickoff is stupid. Start at the 30 and let's go. Abolish the kickoff.
Yeah.
Just abolish it.
I don't know that a change is coming now, Jason. But, I mean, wherever next year's NFL owners' meetings are, I think,
that
think
take
is probably
is
one and done.
worse
this is,
than you
it's not.
Than you disagreeing
They're
that
not gonna
John
stick
Kinsey
with this.
hitting 20.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, I appreciate you having my back.
By the way, he agreed with me.
Oh, I thought he said he was.
No, I don't say put it at the 30. I'm saying that there's a chance this rule is one and done. I don't think they're taking the kickoff out of it.
No,
They
not
should
right
abolish
now.
well,
It is
obviously
stupid.
not on August 27th.
You can speak to this. The Players Association wants to kick off in the game. That's creating jobs for guys.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Aren't they the same jobs as punt team?
Not really. Not if you go down to one team.
No,
that affects the roster.
no, it's not. I got to make this. Listen, I gotta
players
make
you
this
can always
roster
cave
at
to
some
anyway,
point. If I go down there and make a tackle inside the 20 on kickoff, pay me.
It's a dumb. The whole idea is
dumb.
It's dumb. Just start at the 20. I don't care.
By the-
25, 30, 25.
So you're
30,
not
whatever.
You mean to tell me when you watch football back when everything was good, that opening kickoff didn't do something to you? No.
Nothing. I love offense.
The Super Bowl when all the lights were flashing in the 90s.
Believe
That was great.
What I just heard. The opening kickoff it didn't shoot stuff through y'all. Like,
Nah, it was cool. Like,
what's
you can't
wrong
kick
with
return
you?
for
What are y'all
touchdown.
dead
I'm
inside?
willing, yes, I've been for years. We talked about this.
Smart.
I'm willing to sacrifice
Man, you don't know what it's
for the stupidity of what we're seeing now.
You don't know what it's like to they get a bottle like this, and they get like 10 smelling salts and put it in there, and they say, hit that right before kickoff. You don't know what it's like to run down an opening kickoff. Yeah. Oh, they can never get rid of it.
And after that,
never.
Then what?
No, that's different. That's different.
Jason, by the way, how often do you screw up when you're texting Zach Meisel and Zach Jackson because they spelled Zach differently?
I don't think I've ever crossed those texts. I don't
That's a
think.
surprise.
I know. I'm very good at texting.
All right. Zach, linebacker, obviously Hicks and JOK. You have Tony Fields, Devin Bush, and Diabate as the other three. Any changes there?
Well, Watson, it comes back to the discussion. He's a draft pick, right?
Yeah.
And when they picked him, they really liked him, but he missed the back half of camp. So not seeing him enough, it was hard for me to put him on there. Am I wrong? I don't know.
No,
for a while, I didn't think Bush was going to make it, but I think he's really good on special teams.
You didn't think Devin Bush was going to make it?
No, but he's really good on special
We
teams.
need to save 2 minutes at the end. 2 minutes at the end I want to ask him your nutty thing from the other day. I know you got a lot of
Why
nutty
did
things.
you
Which
think
nutty
that?
thing?
He didn't show a lot of
We'll get to it
impression.
at the end. I don't
Yeah.
know what he's talking
Small,
about.
man.
We'll get to it at the end.
Zach,
He was the first
getting
round
back
pick.
to running back
There's a
here.
reason he's available.
What's your best guess as to when Nick Chubb plays his first game?
Probably like late October. Probably like week 7-ish.
Okay.
That'd be my ballpark
Now,
guess.
Mike, I didn't really think this through. Mike, what did you say earlier about all of his incentives are based on 12
12
games?
games.
His incentives are based on playing 12 games,
But
correct?
week 7 would only get him 11 games.
Playing 12 games or being active for 12 games?
Active for 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, when he comes back, they're going to give him the ball, but I don't think they're going to give him the ball 20 times.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I
They
think the vision
barely
was
did it when he
always-
was healthy.
Right.
Oh, my God, we got to hear about that.
There we go.
Anytime he
Titus
gets the
wasn't
ball,
really the complainer.
anytime
It was J and
he
G.
get the ball 20 plus
carries.
times, they
Give it to him
win.
20 times and you win.
Yeah.
The vision is those December games.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb is your closer.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett, obviously, is your closers.
How are you feeling about Deshaun Watson right now?
Camp was so bad, Bull. So bad.
And not many other people are saying that. Like,
Then they didn't watch camp. Look, they didn't have the line. There was 3 days that all the receivers were in actual team drills.
Yeah.
I get it. But he goes back in 7-on-7 and he holds the ball. 7-on-7, Tyvis.
Yeah.
Well, he always did that.
Right.
You know, we went against him when I was in San Francisco for joint practice, and it was funny because we was watching the tape, and he was standing there just like this. He didn't bounce or nothing. He just stood there, and we that's not gonna happen in the game.
Right.
So, but yeah.
So I have a level of trust in Stefanski to put together a plan.
Yeah.
I do believe that there's still a good player in there, but I see a lot of bad throws, and I don't see a lot of confidence.
Is that a big part? I mean, the confidence has got to
be.
be a big part of this, right?
Gotta be.
There's something, I mean, it's just.
He better figure.
has
He
lost
got
that
2 weeks to
confidence.
figure it out. What you talking about?
God.
Dallas game. He better.
Apparently Dallas' offensive line's a disaster, so maybe we're going to have a defensive game. at
These
this point.
first 8 quarters against Dallas and Jacksonville. I mean,
Yeah.
This is high level games, right,
Yeah.
for the Browns. So
Yeah.
just be 1-1. Figure out what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you need to build on, and go from there.
What happened in that last preseason game? Like, what happened that he was going to play and then he wasn't going to play? I mean, do we know the real story?
No,
that you
I know the
can share?
coach said there was a plan to play.
Yeah.
So they did. Listen, I would have backtracked it too, given the O-line situation.
Right, okay.
But I mean, there's no way you could watch the joint practices, let alone watch the film of them 60 times like Stefanski does, and say this offense is ready to roll out.
yeah. So the defense is going to have to kill it.
30 of the 32 quarterbacks played in the preseason.
Was it that many?
Correct.
I thought it was 26, but it could have been 30.
Okay. Well, most of
a
them.
lot. Most of them played.
So
I
A-Rod
don't
and
think it was
Deshaun was
30.
only 2?
I thought it was 25 of the 32.
Yeah, but you knew Aaron Rodgers wouldn't play. There were a couple others who didn't, but Mahomes played. I know Burrow played.
Right.
Jordan Love.
Did Lamar play?
I don't think
Lamar
he
didn't play.
Yeah.
That's right. No, but
He's a guy I understand not playing.
yeah.
You know, I mean, he's not coming off an injury last year.
Lamar played more games from October 1st to January 20th last year than Deshaun's played since 2020.
Yeah, so it's weird, but I don't know. It is what it is.
Jason said that last week. This whole thing is weird.
It's weird.
And you got a lot of backlash. You got a lot of backlash.
I got so many lashes on that back right now.
You know if Ken Dorsey's going to be up in the booth or on the field?
I think he's going to be on the field.
That's where AVP was.
Right.
I think that's. I don't know.
He's the quarterback's coach, so that makes the most
Yeah,
sense.
okay.
You know?
But some offensive coordinators that don't call plays are up in the booth.
Yeah. I mean, these are things you work out when you
Yeah,
change
sure.
the staff. And look, like, even if you just had him in there for 2 drives, you would have had him in the huddle. You would have had guys line up. That stuff matters. If it doesn't matter, then why do we have training camp?
Right.
Right?
That's fair.
So, you know, it doesn't mean that the season's going to go one way or another, but I cannot imagine that this Browns offense is going to be gangbusters right
So you
away
think you think this is one of those years that it takes this offense a couple of games to get going?
And what I've seen from the offense type is it's to protect Deshaun. It's get rid of it super quickly, everything horizontal. You know,
Who are you predicting to win the AFC North?
the Bengals. I think they're the only team that can win the AFC that's not the Chiefs. And I think they're the best team in the AFC North if they're healthy.
So the nutty thing.
Yeah, what was
Yeah,
the
bring it
night
up.
thing?
It's the perfect time to bring it up, Jason.
What was it?
When Bull said, I think it was last week,
Yeah, the Dak Prescott thing?
if Deshaun
Oh.
flames out again this year, he would go after Dak.
Even though financially it would be nearly impossible. But Jimmy doesn't see. The one thing I give him credit for, he don't care about money. He'll spend whatever.
Well, let me
I know
borrow
the money
something
problem,
then.
in the end, you probably couldn't do it. But in theory, if you could make the money work, I don't think that's crazy. Dak is a great quarterback.
I think if it goes wrong this year, you have your final answer.
That's 100% right. That's it. You
Now,
got to
you
move
would still
on.
have $80 million in
You
dead
do,
money.
and it's a disaster.
And that's
but
the part you got to figure out.
I hear you.
I don't disagree with finding an exit strategy. I've said that. Like, it's this year. And then
But
you
I
gotta
think
wait.
at Thanksgiving this year-ish,
Yes.
we're going to have our answer.
Well, I think you.
Let me ask you this: if Dak were on this team right now, would you think they could win the Super Bowl?
Absolutely.
There you go. That's
Well,
it.
obviously they've had this in their plans because
Yeah.
when we were talking about at the end of the season, when they asked AB about extending the what we call it, Deshaun's money, he said
right.
we don't really want to go into that. What was
Well,
they do? Renegotiate?
I asked him at the combine, do you have to restructure?
Yeah,
He said not-
restructure.
He said not necessarily.
Yeah.
And then he quickly looked to find another question
That's
because
right.
he didn't want to
Yeah.
say
But they
something
haven't,
about it.
and they didn't.
And they
have
haven't
to.
restructured
They've
it.
used other methods. They have $30 million in free cash.
And I think that's
Not
noteworthy
necessary.
that they did not restructure.
It is, but it also you could see it both ways. The Eagles have $90 million in dead money sitting for Jalen Hurts that they're going to tackle when it comes down to it. But they feel like Jalen Hurts is going to be their quarterback forever.
Right.
And the Browns have to operate like Deshaun Watson's going to be their quarterback forever.
Yeah.
But at some point in this season, and
Yeah.
not in the Dallas game,
Right,
right,
yeah.
and not in the first Bengals game,
Sure,
but
sure.
not far after, we're probably going to have our answer.
Yes.
If this team has good quarterback play and good health, they can be really good.
Yes.
If this team does not get good quarterback play this year, then this thing borders on disaster.
Right,
Because
and
you
you
have a really good team.
That's right, and
It's
that's
in
why
a
you
really
can't
tight
wait
window.
for a rookie or anything like that. I mean, Dak's. I understand Dak's probably not realistic, and they'll probably re-sign him, but I would do it if there was some possible way. All right. Oh, that was the crazy. I was going to say
That
the
was the
crazy.
nutty.
Anything else nutty that I've said recently, Mike?
There's a lot of nutty things you've said recently.
John Kinsey Noel getting 20
He said
home
he
runs.
wouldn't take Zach. If a team called the Browns and offered a third-round pick for Jameis Winston, would the Browns say yes?
Yes, but I mean, what team is doing that?
Okay, I
This
said
is a nutty thing
I
Bull
said
said
in the
earlier
end,
today.
I said I
Bull
wouldn't
said
do
no.
it because I'm trying to win a Super Bowl this year. And I also said it's an unrealistic question because no team would ever do that.
Right.
So it was an unfair hypothetical.
What is the most value they could get on the open market for Jameis right now?
A 6, probably.
Okay,
That
which you
low.
wouldn't do.
No, I
I'm not
wouldn't
doing
You
that.
wouldn't
I
do
would not
that.
doing
There'd be
that.
no reason to do that. That'd be crazy.
Now,
See, I thought a 4 would be somewhat
some
reasonable.
team that's 3-0 loses their starter to a freak injury in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
then more than that. But today,
Yeah, no. Who's doing that?
What's the fate of
Huntley.
What's the fate of Tyler Huntley?
I mean, he would be a vested veteran. He would just be released if he doesn't make this team or get traded for a 7 or.
Oh, he vested? Oh yeah, he ain't making it then.
Yeah, but he's on a minimum contract. Nobody wanted it. That's how they got him. He didn't have any other offer.
I don't care what he on. He ain't making it. They'll pick him back up week 2.
I mean, I don't think he's very good, but
Justin Hardy got more guaranteed than Tyler Huntley did.
Yeah, that's. I can't imagine there's 90 quarterbacks in the NFL better than him.
There's
even though I don't like him.
But
so
there's stuff that goes into it. I mean,
Yeah,
you get a
sure.
fine job as Lamar's backup, and they let him walk.
Right,
And nobody else
that's
signed
fair.
him.
That's fair.
26, 27.
Yeah.
See, like he's not probably. You could do better as a backup, but you wouldn't want him as your your project quarterback.
Right,
So he's kind of in that
That's
weird.
true.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why he's still there for 3 weeks of free agency.
I would think a team with a running quarterback would want him as a backup, but who knows?
I think the Browns handled it right, and like I said, and I don't think there's any reason,
Nah.
barring a crazy offer, to entertain trading Jameis or doing anything crazy. They were willing to move DTR for the right price. If he's on the team, it means they didn't get the right price. Or in this, the conversations you have on August 14th change by the time this day rolls around, because it's about availability, and especially for the Browns. You know, some teams, the Titans, the Patriots, the Panthers, they're looking at this waiver wire saying we can get better for the long term.
Right.
The Browns are saying we need guys to try to be better than 1-1 to start the season.
Yeah. That's right.
We got to beat Dallas to start the season.
Absolutely. Zach, great stuff, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming in. That was great insight on the roster, and then the final decisions will be made this afternoon.
You could read Zach's stuff on The Athletic if you want. Make sure you follow him at Akron Zach on Twitter. And Zach, thanks for coming in. We're going to switch
Akron
Zach
Jackson.
in for – what did I say?
What did he say?
Akron Zach?
Isn't that what it is?
No.
Akron Jackson.
Akron Jackson.
I mean, he and Meisel, the only one that write. Jason never
Akron
writes.
Jackson. My bad, Zach. My bad.
All right, we'll bring Jay in now.
So
We gotta
we're
bring
putting
Jay
Jay
in.
in, as we
Exactly.
switch out our guests, a quick reminder that if you want to be a Starters Tier member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, it's just $1.99 a month. You get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and members-only community posts. If you want the Coaches Tier, it costs a little bit more money. It is $4.99 a month, and that gets you daily overtime videos on top of everything else you get for the basic Starters Tier perks. So if you want to be a member and get those extra overtime videos on a daily basis, make sure you guys subscribe and help out the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show by becoming a paid member. Also, we're going to read the Super Chats real quick. So once we start this Jay vs. Tyvis back, we can just get to the end of it. The first Super Chat today comes from Halim Yusuf, who says, for Jed Wills, the initial release from the Browns was just an arthroscopic knee surgery. On November 6th, Jake Trotter from ESPN headlined an article calling it an MCL injury. So I'm not exactly sure what it is. And Eddie says, when Jason says Tristan McKenzie was hours away from signing, do you mean they were close on a price, or he wasn't in the physical location of the contract?
I mean, they were hours away from getting it done. Like, he was in Arizona and they were going to complete the deal, and then the arm thing creeped up, and he'll probably
That was that.
And that was that.
Are you talking about McKenzie?
Yeah.
Thankfully, they didn't extend
Yeah,
it.
they were that close.
You had told us off the air before the injury that the deal's done.
It was basically done.
Yeah.
It was
They were saved from themselves.
Yeah.
Poor Tristan, though. Jeez.
All right, Mike. So
With that,
a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of weeks now at this point, right?
it was not
last week.
It was a week and a half ago, 2
Okay.
Fridays ago. We went out to Progressive Field.
Yeah.
And shout out to the Guardians. Shout out to Curtis Danberg for helping us out. And he let us use Progressive Field to finally film this Tyvis versus Jason challenge. Now,
Which came about because he consistently said he was going to take me deep, and would take me deep multiple times.
Listen,
Am I making that up, guys?
That's true.
I didn't say it. First of all, I didn't say that.
You said it, and you
What
said
I
it with
said-
your chest.
I
No,
said
we have proof
I said
that
I
he
was
said it,
going
and you said-
yard.
Okay,
That's
wait,
what I
okay.
said. I don't know
just
what
wanna
this
give the
deep
proper
stuff
context.
All right,
is.
set it up,
Look at the
Mike.
NFL backpedal.
I don't know what
Wait a second. Let Mike set this up.
You
Go
guys
ahead.
will hear we did pre-challenge interviews, so you'll be able to hear exactly what their
right.
All right, so you got a package. You're gonna play.
We
for.
had Tyler Danberg, Curtis's son, do play-by-play for us. He did a terrific job
Yeah,
doing
he
play-by-play.
I struck him out looking with one pitch, and he said frozen pizza. I almost died. I
It was
almost
awesome.
died.
So shout out
Let's
to
go to
Tyler, a up-and-coming broadcaster who we keep an eye on. The Guardians let us on the field.
Yeah.
It rained that morning, so we didn't pitch from the mound. Jay had to throw from a simulated mound. So when you see that, that is the reason we're not on the real mound.
Yeah.
But we were awesome and thrilled that the Guardians let us out to Progressive Field. And with that, with further ado, here is the official Jay versus Tyvis hitting challenge.
I've played me hitting this home run at least 1 million times. So, yeah, like when it happens, it's not even going to be a big thing for me because I've already seen it happen before.
Will he be able to get one over to Monster and left and into the bleachers? I'm betting strongly against that.
You remember on WWE when Shawn Michaels went up against Ric Flair? And once he won that match, Ric Flair was going to retire. And before he kicked him, he said, "I love you." It's kind of how I feel before Jay pitches this pitch, I'm going to be like, "I love you, man. I loved your career. I respect everything that you've done. But it's over with after this." And boom, I'm hitting it out the park.
I'm in my 60th year. He's half my age at 30. He better do something, or he's going to hear for the rest of his life, at least from this old man, how he's 30 years behind me.
For 364 days out of the year, they're co-hosts. But today, they're 60 feet, 6 inches apart from each other. That was Tyvis Powell's first contact made and batted ball put in place since his sophomore year of high school. Here's the pitch.
Oh, that's a good damn pitch.
Crawford pitches. On the ground to the right side, and it sneaks through for a base hit. Jay says no to a pair of signs. He brings it home. Jay Crawford throwing frisbees this afternoon. Powell bloops it, falling into center and down for a base hit. Years of smack talk have culminated in this very Friday at Progressive Field. Out in front of the off speed. Goes down on a knee and swings and misses.
Get off me!
But this time, he puts a charge into it. Bush goes back, he reaches out, it's off his glove.
Keep trying me.
Ground out to the right side, ground out to the left side. Here's a bouncing ball to short. Crawford took some speed off the fastball. Tyvis Powell takes Jay Crawford just to the right of the 400 side. Jay stares down Mark Chambers' battery mate and delivers. Swing and a miss! An exclamation point for Jay Crawford, whose baseball career lives to see another day.
All right, Mikey, you want to hit?
Yeah. We thought you'd never ask.
We don't have StatCast, we can't tell. But Jay Crawford wins the first ever Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, one-on-one at Bat Battle. Tyvis Powell can't get one out, but Jay Crawford finishes with a punch-out.
That was great.
Listen, Jay.
He got one good hit, but it's not a home run.
No, he did. No, it wasn't even close.
Why would you throw him a changeup?
Well, so I talked with my catcher, Mark Chambers, who plays on my Black Sox team in the Cleveland League. And I said, look, I don't think he's going to have any chance of even putting a bat on it. Yeah. So I'm going to throw ones and twos. I'm going to throw ones and twos to start. Yeah. And once I get about 6 swings and misses in, if you want to throw or call either a change or a split change, I'll throw it. Yeah. And so he called the split change, and I shouldn't have sped up his bat. He had no chance of hitting it.
That's what I'm saying.
But I thought, you know what? I actually felt a little sorry for him. And I said, I'm gonna throw the split change, and it was a terrible split change. The only thing that was decent about it was a lot slower than my fastball, but it didn't go down and in like it normally does. Yeah. And to Tyvis's credit, he put a charge into it. Now, it would have been a routine can of corn out for the center fielder. Right. But and he threw his bat and celebrated like it was a home run. I'm like, wait a minute,
when it left my bat, I said, oh yeah, I did it. And then it fell short. I was like,
now,
no.
I'll be honest, I love you, Tyvis, but I didn't think you were going to make any contact at all.
Did you really think that?
I did, because I know Jay's a really good pitcher.
When he told me he played varsity as a sophomore.
That's a while ago.
No, I know.
But not that long ago.
But there's a general ball of clay to work with there. I mean, you're not, nobody, I don't care what the school is or how, if you're playing varsity high school baseball as a sophomore.
That's true.
You have a skill set.
That's true. It's not like it's that long ago. I'm thinking the rest of us.
Now, I'll tell you what surprised me was G. Bush. Because G. Bush was the man-child that every Little League has, that hits like 15 home runs.
He said he was in the cages.
And he went to the cages, and he was ready.
And swung and missed
and
every
he
pitch.
was 0 for 6. he didn't even foul one off.
G. Bush has so many physical problems. I just don't think.
Yeah, no, his neck and he
did foul one off.
But I'll tell you this though, his swing looked okay.
His swing looked good. Mikey's swing looked fine.
Mike's swing was good.
That's the worst swing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
I love you, Anthony, but
Over Steve?
I've taken a legit swing since Little League.
The only worst swing I've seen in that is Austin Hedges. That's it.
How would you grade Director Steve?
Wait, I'm not worse than Steve.
No, you can't be. You could be worse than Steve.
Well, you saw Steve.
Has Steve ever? Oh, Steve was in there.
No,
Steve was the last one.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I thought that was Anthony again.
Yeah, no, it was Director Steve said, it would be kind of cool if I got to take a swing at Progressive Field.
Oh my God.
And
Steve's got to be. I think that was Steve that had the really.
We'll play at the very end again.
I threw him a couple of cookies. I wanted Steve to hit
I'm
one.
so pissed that I should have gone. I had something.
You would have had a blast. Now, how are you?
I feel great, actually.
You do?
Yeah.
Because I was really worried about you after Sunday.
I took a prednisone.
Yeah.
After the softball, I feel good.
Okay, good. Just a little late on that one. Just a little late.
Steve was worse than Anthony, but Anthony's swing was bad.
Vindication for Anthony.
All that being said, it was fun. I like the smack
Good
talk.
job.
I appreciate
it was a great
But
day.
now you know your lane. You can stay in it. And listen, I am, for the record, I am not going to challenge you to say that I could catch a ball with you in pass coverage.
Right. That would be smart.
Because I am staying in my lane.
Why not?
Because you were a professional. You know what you're doing.
So what?
I would like to see that, though. I think we might need to set that up.
Listen,
I feel like I got to get a revenge at some point, right?
Listen, if you're going to challenge me, if you are going to challenge me,
I give you 10 routes.
Who is the quarterback?
10 routes.
Who's playing quarterback?
Tim Couch.
Is Tim? Yeah, all right.
We'll get Tim here. Tim comes to Cleveland once a summer.
Jay, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you on Overtime, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Was that the guy?